Steph, and Floyd didn't think Shaq belonged in there because Shaq couldn't hit a free throw. But Shaq was freaking awesome. And Tim Duncan. And so Steph, to me, you could argue it like Floyd argued against it with Steph 3 years ago.
Now I don't think
you can't argue it with Steph. It's over.
Tune in Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman. Weekday afternoons from 2 to 6.
On ESPN.
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app. From the Hillside Medical Game Studios. WPRT FM Pegram. WPUC HD2 Laverne. Broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers.
ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
The leading receiver.
Awesome game.
Checkered flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
We're one play away from an injury.
He knows this. He's a study of the game.
And we have strong opinions.
He's been awful. I don't think they were trying, and that's why I feel the way I feel.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman and Caroline Fenton. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, ESPN 102.5. The Game streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry, live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. Caroline Fenton is here today. Hello, Caroline.
Hello, how we doing?
Outstanding. Ian is here today. Hello, Ian.
What up, what up?
Okay, so I got to start on this today because I literally woke up this morning and I read this and I immediately texted the source, Gentry Estes in the Tennessean. I love Gentry. I wonder how Gentry felt about my 7 a.m. text message this morning or whatever time I sent her that.
I'm sure he really appreciated that.
But I did see this. Here you go. This is Gentry Estes in the Tennessee in his column. Quote, if Tennessee Titans star Jeffrey Simmons does hold in, could you blame him? Written by Gentry Estes. Gentry writes, quote, can't say a player is holding out, I suppose, when he's actually in the building. But star defensive lineman Jeffrey Simmons, who was healthy by all accounts, wasn't on the field practicing with Tennessee Titans teammates during last week's mandatory minicamp. Why not? We don't know. When asked, Simmons was evasive. He would only say vaguely that he was unavailable to practice as part of a plan, and Gentry puts the word plan in quotes, with head coach Mike Vrabel. On the surface, that didn't pass a smell test. Vrabel wants players to practice. So I agree with all that. Like last week when it was, my plan is to sit here on the bike. That didn't make a lot of sense to me.
No.
Remember when TD was like, maybe they'll work out a contract, so you just take off a practice for these 2 days, and it's just like giving a guy a day off during the week.
And then we'll reevaluate before training camp. He'll be out there during training camp.
And I was like, the only reason I was like, TD might be right was because no other explanation made any sense either. But that didn't make a whole lot of sense. Like, there's no explanation that makes any sense other than Simmons didn't want to practice as to show the team that he was unhappy. And instead of pushing the envelope, Vrabel was like, let's push this to the side and deal with it.
Unless he was on like a weight loss program, because he and Traylon Burks on one day of a mandatory minicamp, we're doing the same things.
I actually heard John
that I could
Glennon.
see.
I actually heard John Glennon in studio with the morning show today, and they were talking about allergies with Traylon Burks, where I don't know where allergies came from. I mean, asthma has been documented. I don't know where the allergies came from.
And everyone has very quickly become an asthma expert in this town.
But they were talking about allergies. Where did that come from?
It was made up.
Okay, so they were talking about that, and I'm like, well, if allergies were so bad, why was he outside on the bike?
That's a fair point. I'm sure they've got bikes inside. Maybe they're trying to build the allergy tolerance.
That's not how that works.
I'm joking.
But that, again, to Gentry's point, what it's not
what
passing
we do
is
know is asthma.
Gentry writes, it's an obvious call for the Titans. Precious few NFL players, Gentry writes, are truly irreplaceable to a franchise's success moving forward. And the Titans just traded one of theirs to the Philadelphia Eagles. The only positive in flipping A.J. Brown for a rookie replacement, Traylon Burks, was the extra cap space to help provide Simmons a new contract he deserves. Cap space. And he does deserve it, Gentry says. The NFL as a whole hasn't quite figured out how much of a monster Simmons has already become on the field. He wasn't initially voted to the Pro Bowl last season, and yet cameras for HBO Hard Knocks revealed a conversation in which Indianapolis Colts were advocating for Simmons. The Colts understand they play against him twice a season. Gentry continues in his column writing about what's going to happen with Simmons. He said how a hold-in happens. At issue for Simmons isn't whether he's going to get paid huge money. It'll be the sooner or later part that causes ripples. Here's why. 14 teammates have a higher average salary right now per Spotrac than Simmons. His 2022 base salary is $2.2 million from his rookie deal and is slightly below guard Nate Davis and safety Amani Hooker, members of the same draft class, and roughly the same as punter Brett Kern. Spotrac has Simmons' market value at $21 million. He's looking at playing in 2022 for basically 1/10 of what he's worth. Yes, that's how rookie contracts in the NFL work. That's why teams value draft picks, because draft picks are cheap and oftentimes uninjured. That's why. Because they know, hey, we're getting a bunch of production out of Joe Burrow right now, and we are not paying him $50 million a season, which is easily what we're going to have to pay Joe Burrow to do. Like, that's exactly how this works. So Gentry then writes, the concept of holding out has changed in the NFL. Rather than face added fines for missing training camp, it's far more likely that Simmons would technically report and choose to sit out practices over a contract dispute. If he does that without a new deal in the coming weeks, who could blame him? And I'm going to tell you who would blame him. The Titans would blame him. Because if the Titans want Jeffrey Simmons to practice and Jeffrey Simmons doesn't want to practice, it is not written in the collective bargaining agreement that Jeffrey Simmons doesn't have to practice because he doesn't want to practice. That's not how this works. So here's the issue, and this is the question I'm going to ask everybody out there, because I do get the sense, not only reading Gentry's column, but listening to the morning show today, and just, we've had TD on who's talked about this, there seems to be some belief that the $2.2 million that Jeffrey Simmons is scheduled to make this year and the $10.75 million that he's scheduled to make next year as part of the fifth-year option, which is shockingly kind of a drawback to be a first-round pick compared to a second-round pick, where AJ didn't have that. There was no fifth year and then a franchise tag that AJ would have to worry about. He would have just had to worry about playing on his $4 million and then being franchised. So he was 1 year closer to free agency, even though they were in the same draft. Same with Nate Davis, same with Amani Hooker, same with David Long. All those guys are free agents at the end of the year. But here's the question I have for everybody out there, because there's just so many people that think that it's just so ridiculous, the idea of how dare Jeffrey Simmons play on $2.2 million. I mean, how in the world could he play on two? I mean, it's just ridiculous. And then the 10.75 next year. I mean, Aaron Donald is getting $30 million. I mean, what are we talking about? This guy making $13 million over the next 2 years. Aaron Donald's making 30 a season. I mean, come on.
But let's not get it twisted. Jeffrey Simmons is not Aaron Donald.
Well, let me just ask this question.
No disrespect to Jeffrey Simmons, but Aaron Donald's the best player in the league.
Let's get to that in a second, because that's not exactly the crux of the issue here, but I would agree with you. I think we have overrated Jeffrey Simmons around here. Jeffrey Simmons was, he was nowhere to be found in 2020. Now, he played way too many snaps, and he had no help. But if you're a guy who needs help, then that is...
You're not Aaron Donald.
Then that is a problem. So, I just want to look at it like this, though. Can anybody tell me what leverage Jeffrey Simmons has? I want everybody out there, because I think everybody is so misguided by the public crying of A.J. Brown that they didn't actually understand the situation. And this is the same question that I asked Gentry, who's writing about the idea of Jeffrey Simmons holding in, and there certainly is a what the hell was going on last week? What was going on? Simmons says there's a plan with Vrabel. Teresa Walker asks Vrabel if the plan was to help keep him fresh for camp. Vrabel just said no. So that doesn't make any sense. So we don't know. It leads to all speculation. So let's just speculate. And I want to speculate, and I want to do this fairly. I believe Jeffrey Simmons is a really good player. I believe if Jeffrey Simmons was a free agent, like Deshaun Watson, where he could go wherever he wants and get whatever contract, and whoever gives him the best deal he could take, Jeffrey Simmons would probably get offered a contract in the neighborhood of $27 million a season. That's if there were no strings attached and any team in the league could sign him at the start of free agency. And again, as we always have done the thing about the guaranteed money and just because everybody cares about money per season, just to help you out here, probably would get a contract in the ballpark that is probably right in between DeForest Buckner's $21 million and Aaron Donald's $31 million, which is essentially $26 million. Then somebody would up the ante on that, and then maybe somebody else would. I think Simmons would command about $27 million a season. Guess what?
What?
He's not a free agent. He's under contract for 2 more years. Let me ask this question. What leverage does Jeffrey Simmons have?
I don't really know if he has any at all. Like, what can Jeffrey Simmons threaten right now if he doesn't get a new contract, let's say before training camp? What can he threaten? Demand a trade?
Okay. I've listened to your trade request. I've denied it. Go play.
That's it. That's all that he can do. He can threaten to hold out.
Nope.
But he can't.
Because if he holds out, then he gets fined $40,000 a day. If you miss all of training camp at $40,000 a day, that's roughly $1.6 million.
Which is about
that's half his
half
salary.
of what he's making.
So he's about to make $2.2 million for the season, and he's going to hold out and then show up for the start of the season and then owe me half of his salary and 3 game checks because in the CBA you get fined, I believe, you get fined a game check for every preseason game missed, which is also laughable in and of itself considering how pointless these preseason games are.
Uh-huh.
But those are the rules. So there's your holdout. Okay, we tried that.
So you accomplished nothing.
You tried the trade.
You
You tried
get
to
a new
hold out.
contract, and now you owe me half of what you're worth.
What else are you gonna try on me?
I don't even know what else there is to try.
There's the hold in.
Holding in.
So the hold in is you show up, kind of like this mini camp where you show up, but you don't practice, you don't do anything, you don't. Okay, now you get fined for conduct detrimental to the team. So now all of a sudden, all the guarantees in your contract are now voided, and here you go. You're getting fined every day for conduct detrimental to the team.
And
At some
we're
point,
still
you
not
have
giving
to
you a
play.
new contract.
And then the other options would be, now here's the real bad one. This is one that, again, he's got a team. Now, TD did uncover the secret team that Jeffrey Simmons has, and it is some agent or something. I need to look it up. But he's got a legitimate agent who's going to help him out through this.
Good.
Which why it has to be a team, and he can't just hire an agent is his decision to make.
But for Jeffrey Simmons' sake, I'm glad he does have legitimate legal representation.
Yes, like an experienced NFL agent who
Yes.
can, kind of give advice on this. So the worst thing he can do is show up, then get mad over the contract and leave. Because if he does that, then he gets put on the left team list and his contract would toll. So anything that happens from that day forward, it would be pause, stop, Jeffrey Simmons left, contract pauses. Whenever he comes back is when it starts again.
Can you get fined?
Well, you're not getting paid.
So it's just you're in limbo?
Yeah.
You're not making any money
getting
and you're not
fined.
paying any money.
You're getting fined,
You're not doing
contract
anything.
detrimental to the team, and you're 1 extra year away from free agency because your contract's told. So now, instead of it being 2 years from free agency, now it's 3 years from free agency. Well, that doesn't make any sense.
No.
So I ask this question. What leverage does Jeffrey Simmons have? Because everybody around town is, and I think the AJ situation has kind of played a role into this, but I think everybody is under some impression that the Titans are owed to Jeff Simmons a new contract, or it's going to be a huge problem on their hands. And I think it's quite the opposite. I think it is if Jeffrey Simmons wants to go to the table and say, hey, I know you guys really want me to sign a new deal. I really want to sign a new deal. I want the financial security of a new deal right now. That's great, but you're not going to get $26, $27 million a season. You're probably not even going to get $21 million a season. Because right now the Titans have you. What did we figure it out last week? $11.6 million over the next 3 years.
About.
Okay. So, you're going to be looking at $15, $16, $17 million, but you're going to get some money up front. It's going to be more than the $2.2 million, and you're going to have financial security. But don't think the Titans aren't going to run roughshod if he goes up to them wanting a new deal. And just ask yourself this. How many other 2019 first-round picks have signed new contract extensions?
First-round picks?
Mm-hmm.
Was Max Crosby a first-round pick?
Nope.
Then none.
Zero first-round picks in that 2019 class. Let me ask you this. What leverage does Kyler Murray have with the Arizona Cardinals?
Absolutely Zero.
And is there any difference between the two situations? No, there's not.
One plays quarterback.
There's no
That's
difference.
it.
There's absolutely no difference. So Kyler made all these threats. Kyler bitched. Kyler wanted his money. Kyler wanted a contract. And Kyler ended up showing up for minicamp, and Kyler's going to show up for training camp, and it's because Kyler has no leverage. Just has no leverage. So I want everybody to that's what I want to start on today is, again, the Jeffrey Simmons stuff. I don't know what's going to happen. But this idea that the Titans don't have the leverage in this negotiation is ridiculous. The Titans are in total control, and the only person who can take the control away from the Titans is the Titans themselves. They're the only ones. Nobody else can. This isn't a situation where, for instance, I'll get it. There is a 2019 situation that I feel like is very different. And I feel like the AJ situation is very different as well. So let's get your thoughts in on this. Again, this is about Simmons, 615-737-1025. I really don't know what last week was about, but it doesn't make me think that we're any closer to him getting a new contract. I don't think any of that helps him get a new contract. I don't think that he's just sitting at there. It just doesn't make any sense. But we'll get to this. 615-737-1025. We're rocking and rolling. Bunch of NFL news today, by the way. Deshaun Watson, Rob Gronkowski. Tons of stuff to get into. Stillman and Company. It's ESPN 1025 The Game.
Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN.
Welcome into the DDC.
Stillman and Company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have two choices to hear our great sports programming.
Get the extra point, no problem.
And the Nashville Predators. Scores! Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Winning this award is truly like winning the Super Bowl of car dealer awards for Mercedes-Benz.
Edwin Vickery, General Manager of Mercedes-Benz of Music City.
Culture eats strategy for lunch. You have to hit on all cylinders to win this award. You can strategize all you want. You got to still have the right tools, and our tools are our people.
Live the dream with three-time Mercedes-Benz Best of the Best award winner, Mercedes-Benz of Music City. Go to mbofmc.com.
Happy Tail Waggin' Tuesday, Sounds fans. Bring your dog to the Nashville Sounds game tonight at First Horizon Park as the team takes on the AAA Atlanta Braves affiliate, the Gwinnett Stripers. Proceeds from each dog ticket sold will benefit Nashville Humane. For more info and tickets, visit NashvilleSounds.com.
Where will you be for the Ally 400 at the Nashville Super Speedway? The Tootsie's Infield Club will be the coolest spot in the house before and during the race. With the shaded seating, cold drinks, and live music, it's just like Broadway at the Speedway. You'll be close to the bar, the bathroom, and all the action in Turn 4. How do you get in? Add a fan walk or pre-race track access pass to your Ally 400 ticket purchase, and we'll see you at the Tootsie's Infield Club.
People are driving from all over to shop at Genesis Diamonds right now to take advantage of our very best financing offer. Now extended through July 2nd. 5 years, zero interest financing with zero down. It's a fantastic opportunity, making everything more affordable. How about a $6,000 GIA certified diamond for just $100 a month? A $4,000 pair of diamond stud earrings, just $67 a month. Don't miss this. We will not be extending it again. 5 years, zero interest financing, exclusively at Genesis Diamonds. Open this Sunday. Green Hills and Cool Springs. On approved credit.
As in all human conflict, adults fight and children suffer. Today, 7.5 million children in Ukraine need to find water and shelter. They need safety in school. They need a place to sleep and comfort in the dark. Show them the world cares. Support UNICEF on the ground in Ukraine. We won't stop until every child is safe. UNICEFUSA.org/action.
Blood Assurance, this community's local blood centers, is hiring for several open positions in the Nashville area. Be a part of a company that helps save lives by providing the local hospitals with the much-needed life source of blood. They offer competitive pay, great benefits, paid time off, and retirement benefits. Blood Assurance has a family-friendly environment. Go to bloodassurance.org/careers. Again, that's bloodassurance.org/careers to apply.
7.5 million children in Ukraine need to find water and shelter. They need a place to sleep and comfort in the dark. Show them the world cares. Support UNICEF, unicefusa.org/action.
We want to hear from you.
Thanks for taking the call.
Join the conversation. Call or text at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
On ESPN 1025 and 1063 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
I'm playing right now, so I'm with whatever they think best for me. And whatever they're around, of course, it's nothing they're going to do without asking me. There's nothing they're gonna run everything about me, and that's what our business is about. And our business, our thing is walking business. So it's my body, it's my business. Like I said, everything come through me. So it's like I said, it's not they telling me what to do and I'm telling them what to do. We're a team, and that's why we work together.
That was Jeffrey Simmons on a super secret agent team. TD did, and I have to go find it, TD did figure out who Jeffrey Simmons' super secret team is, but I do think I'm at least glad that he's not going to let them tell him what to do. Here you go. This is from TD. With the help of his uncle Jason Hatcher, a former Pro Bowl defensive end, Jeffrey Simmons has retained Walking Business Sports Group, a team of advisors and negotiators to work out his next NFL contract. The group includes former NFL agent Paul DeRusali, a seasoned attorney with 12 years of legal experience. DeRusali, a Southern University Law Center graduate, spent the early part of his career with Wheel Gotchel LLP, where he gained significant knowledge of the collective bargaining agreement as the firm played a role in representing the NFLPA during the lockout. So I'm going to guess this is the last CBA, since there was no lockout for this prior one. Five-time Pro Bowler Andre Girard, who I don't know if you probably don't remember this. Ian, you remember Andre Girard?
I do. Big Al.
Albert Hainsworth stomped on his head and got that, I think, was it 6-game suspension? Well, however long suspension it was. That was right. The center of the Dallas Cowboys. I remember it like it was yesterday. I think I was a freshman or sophomore in high school, and Albert Hainsworth just stomped right on that face. And he'll be advising Jeffrey Simmons, I guess, in this as well. And I keep going back to this. This is something that bothers me. I want every Titan fan to understand this, because I think the discussions about a Jeffrey Simmons contract are not going to stop between now and the start of training camp. In fact, I think they may pick up, because it's just, look, it's the NFL, and then there's going to be, a little leak here, and then so-and-so said this there, and all of a sudden somebody's saying this and whatever. Jeffrey Simmons doesn't have leverage. I want everybody to understand that. And I'm going to give you 2 examples, because I think we, and I'm speaking about everybody in this town, we are under the impression that he has leverage based upon the fact that it looked like A.J. Brown used his leverage in order to work a trade. But that's not really what happened. And that's part of the reason that of all the things that I didn't like about the A.J. trade, and I liked the A.J. trade, what I didn't like was the rewarding A.J. for something that I felt like he didn't earn. Because he didn't have any leverage with the Titans. But the one thing A.J. had working for him was the draft. So if he caused a big enough stink, the Titans could think, hey, we can get out of this without having to deal with the drama, and we can get a replacement for A.J., albeit one with severe asthma, apparently. But we can go out and we can get a replacement for A.J. and move on. And that's what they did. But it wasn't because A.J. was threatening anything. It wasn't, the TD report that A.J. had told the Titans that he was not going to enter the building without a new contract. That's just not how this works. That's not how it works. So there are other scenarios in the 2019 class where the guy has a little bit of leverage. But the two most famous or the 2 most discussed cases, Kyler Murray, no leverage. Kyler tried, right?
Kyler tried.
He did everything. No leverage. And they said 0% chance they were going to trade him. And then his agent put out that letter. And then he didn't show up to minicamp, or he didn't show up to the OTAs. Then he did show up to minicamp. And, that scrubbing on my social media wasn't really anything, So. And Debo. What's happened to Debo? Nothing. Because he didn't have any leverage. Now, there's two guys in this draft class that I think have a little bit of juice. One is Hollywood Brown with Arizona, because Hollywood Brown was traded for a first-round pick. The Ravens obviously didn't want to pay Hollywood Brown. Now, they could have let Hollywood Brown play this year and play next year, and then they would have let him go, but they obviously didn't want Hollywood Brown because they got rid of Hollywood Brown for a first-round pick. Well, now Arizona has to sign Hollywood Brown because you just traded a first-round pick for him. So Hollywood Brown, it's like Laramie Tunsil when he got traded for 2 first-round picks. Where you could trade 2 first-round picks for the guy and then let him walk as a free agent? No. So Hollywood Brown has legitimate leverage with the Cardinals. Maybe not to get a deal done today, but when all is said and done, the Cardinals are going to have to give Hollywood Brown a contract extension because they used a first-round pick on him. The other,
Jeremy Lozon.
Yes. The other guy in this draft class that has leverage is Terry McLaurin in Washington, and this is only because Washington's had so many bad headlines that going into training camp, it might be nice to have a good headline, which is kind of embarrassing to say, but that is the organization of optics. And so
but
here they are.
The Commanders, Washington football team, whatever you want to call it.
Well, their name is the Commanders.
It just doesn't feel right.
It does not feel right.
I don't like saying it.
It also feels stupid. And
because it is stupid.
It feels to me like it's all, going back to the optics element of all this, everything that I feel like they've done has been for optics' sake. Right? Like they hired an African-American team president. And I feel like that's because everybody was calling them racist. They hired a coach, they hired Ron Rivera to be their coach.
A minority head coach.
And I think it's because everybody was calling them racist. Then they started elevating women in their organization because everybody was calling them sexist.
They hired so many minorities and women in positions of power to say, look, no, we actually
We're
are
not
good
racist.
People. And then the Jack Del Rio thing happens and comes out, and it makes it all look like such a sham.
Oh, it's all bullcrap.
I mean, that organization is just a freaking dumpster fire.
Although, in all fairness to them, like the Jack Del Rio thing was just one guy going off the reservation going rogue. But,
yes, but how they handled it also shows that, do they really have a commitment to that?
I mean, look, the man apologized, and the players talked about his apology, and they seemed to accept it. So,
well, if that's good for them, then great. It's their organization, not mine.
Yeah, to your point. But again, it is the organization of optics.
Yes.
And so they're going to have to give McLaurin a new deal.
It's also a league of optics.
It is, but to that point, like, this guy's trying to keep his franchise.
Yeah.
And so
which doesn't seem like it's going
he's trying to get a new stadium, and the defensive coordinator spouting off, and now the state legislature won't even meet with him, and he's not even technically allowed to run the day-to-day operations, and he won't testify in front of Congress, and now the commissioner is going to have to take the brunt of it because he won't testify. It is. So Terry McLaurin's got a little bit of leverage, but that's it. I mean, next year these guys will have way more leverage, but this year they don't. So everybody, I think, is getting it in their minds that there's some reason why the Titans have to make an agreement with Jeffrey Simmons. And the answer is they don't. If Simmons wants an agreement, what Simmons has to do is he has to go to the Titans and he has to say, hey, I'm going to take a humongous hometown discount, but I want money up front and I want to do this now. And even then, the Titans will be skeptical of doing a deal because once you do that with somebody that's got 2 years left on their contract, now you kind of have to do this with other people when they've got 2 years left on their contract. So it's something the Titans probably really don't want to do, but it's something that if they do, it'll have to be such a good deal, like $17 million a year for Simmons, who, again, I think on the open market is probably worth $27 million a year. It'd probably have to be $17 million a year for Simmons, or $18 million, or $20 million as opposed to $27 million to $30 million. And the guaranteed money's not going to be very high. They're going to guarantee the next 2 or 3 seasons, and that's it. So he wouldn't get any new guaranteed money, basically, other than just a little up front. And I don't think that's very wise. Like, if I was on Simmons' team, I'd be like, you probably need to wait this out. Even if you want to get paid now, you probably need to wait this out. That's what I would say if I was advising Jeffrey Simmons.
And where has this trend of players with multiple years left on their contracts wanting new contracts, where does that come from?
Well, there's a difference between veterans and rookies.
I know that.
There's a humongous difference.
I should reword that to rookies with 2 years
like
left on their
rookie year
deal.
contract?
Like the Kyler Murray.
So if you've got a transcendently great player that you know is that good, like, again, the comparisons around here for Simmons are to Aaron Donald. I don't think a lot of people around the country are comparing Jeffrey Simmons to Aaron Donald. He didn't even make the Pro Bowl on first glance. But, again, the comparisons over here are to Aaron Donald. But when you've got a transcendently great player, Joe Burrow, you want to lock that man up as soon as you possibly can.
Yes.
Why? Because the price will go up. So I think, for instance, Josh Allen last year signed the highest average annual value in new money of an NFL contract by taking a $43.5 million salary. You know, he signed the mega deal, $43.5 million for Josh Allen, and everybody's like, well, now the going rate for an elite quarterback is 50 because that's what Aaron just got. So not many people are in the Aaron class, but he is. Joe Burrow is. Those guys are in the Aaron class. So what you do is you lock them up early, and it's kind of like, hey, we're giving you a little money up front.
Which is exactly what the Rams
now
did with
it's
Cooper
not
Kupp.
going to be the Aaron. It's not going to be the Aaron contract. You're not getting 50, but you are getting, 47, Joe. But you're doing it now because the going rate for Joe Burrow, if he gets to free agency,
55
is way more. I mean, Joe Burrow, if he were to hit free agency, like true free agency with no strings attached, because Aaron you still had to trade for if he was going to leave Green Bay. If Joe Burrow got double tagged, which is some serious cash, and then hit the free agent market like Kirk Cousins, if Deshaun Watson is 3 first-round picks and $230 million guaranteed fully, Joe, so that's what, $46 million a season?
About.
Fully guaranteed? Joe Burrow is probably $55 million guaranteed on a 4-year deal, fully guaranteed.
So that would be
200,
220?
Yeah, something like that.
220?
Whatever it is. That's probably what Joe Burrow is. So, I mean, it's real, serious money. That's not right because Watson's 4 years. Watson's 4 years, 230
You said
guaranteed.
55 across 4 years.
Yeah.
So that's
200, and then we got, the 5 extra each season.
Times
so you're
4.
220. Yeah.
220.
Maybe Deshaun's 5 years?
Maybe so.
Maybe. I don't know. Joe's serious money. That is. But again, it'll never happen because the Bengals will sign him to a deal because they know he's Joe Burrow and they don't want whatever. So the price is always going to go up. So that's where this trend started. Kyler saw Josh Allen get paid last year. Kyler saw Patrick Mahomes get paid 2 years ago.
And the difference of that
and Kyler
is
wants his money now.
Is players who want money now, but they're just not as good as the other players who have gotten money now.
Exactly. And that's where Simmons is. And again, the only leverage that you have in order to get money now is it'll be way, 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 way more expensive if you give it to me later. But that's the leverage that Simmons has to take to the Titans if he wants a new deal.
And it's also not
which
even great
is,
leverage.
Let's do it. Let's do the deal now. 615-737-1025 is the phone number, and we'll get to your phones. And it should be noted as well when leverage comes into play. And I hate to say this for Jeffrey Simmons because the Titans are a little bit in this predicament, but they're not. The Buffalo Bills are getting a stadium built that is the highest amount of publicly funded money in the history of New York State. Josh Allen's going to be the quarterback of that team when they move into that stadium.
Yes.
Simmons does not play quarterback. That matters. If you've got that player and you're trying to sell PSLs and things like that, you need that guy in tow to say, hey, come get your tickets to see Josh Allen. Hey, Governor, we have Josh Allen, those kind of things. 615-737-1025. We'll get to your phones on this, 615-737-1025. I was actually stunned. Gentry included this in his article, but I was actually stunned to see what the internet value of Jeffrey Simmons is, plus where the market is headed on Simmons. And we're to your phones. It's ESPN 1025, the game. Let me have Caroline, tell you all about the Caesars Sportsbook app.
Time for the Caesars Sportsbook report. Time to make you some money. So first things first, when you place your first bet with Caesars Sportsbook, it's risk-free up to $1,500. So Caesars has got you covered there. Just download the app and use the promo code Radio15, one word, Radio15, and then place your first bet. And if you win, then congratulations. But if not, don't sweat it. No worries. You'll get that wager back as a free bet. Now, if you're looking for something to place that first bet on, look at the Auburn-Arkansas game tonight coming down to the wire in the College World Series. That game starts at 6 o'clock. Now, Arkansas got rocked by Ole Miss last night, so I'm actually going to take Auburn on the money line plus 120. I think Sony DeChara is just too good to bet against. But that's my take. Do it how you want to do it. Just do it with Caesars Sportsbook app. Must be 21 and physically present in Tennessee. New users only. Bet amount of qualifying wager return only if wager is settled as a loss. Paid as a single bet credit. Must be used in 14 days. See Caesars.com/promos for full terms. Gambling problem? Call or text the Tennessee Redline at 1-800-889-9789. Caesars Sportsbook. Download it, people.
Hey, Preds fans.
Running across to make the save is Sarah.
You can now hear Nashville's best sports talk.
The backhander, he scores!
And every Predators game on 106.3 FM.
Oh, that was a thing of beauty.
From downtown Nashville to Rutherford and Williamson counties.
Duchesne with the overtime winner.
Catch all the action on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Men, what if I told you that now you're able to get testosterone replacement therapy in the comfort of your own home? No more weekly trips to the doctor's office. We come to you 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. Be seen by a licensed medical professional in the privacy and comfort of your own home or office. You decide. Schedule your appointment today at CoolSpringsMDformen.com.
Hey, Willie Donick here. Are you feeling the sting of higher interest rates and higher costs? Those credit cards and other loans are costing more and more every month, and inflation is making everything else more expensive. Your home can save you right now. Your home value is up, and there's a ton of cash in it that you can access with Loan Pronto. Loan Pronto specializes in zero-cost cash-out home refis. You can get tens of thousands in as little as 2 weeks. Pay off those 23% rate credit cards and other loans. Consolidate everything into one super low payment. People who do this usually cut $800 or more from their monthly budget. If your home mortgage rate goes up a point or so, it's offset by your credit card rate going to zero. So call Loan Pronto now and unlock that equity and wipe out the bad debt. Do it now. You can even skip your next 2 house payments. Call 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. That's 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
This is Stan Harrison, CEO of Apple Collision Centers. We understand that no one likes to deal with auto body repair and the inconvenience it becomes in your day-to-day life. I want to personally invite you to stop by and let our experienced staff see how we can help you make your vehicle look good as new. Apple Collision Center has 3 convenient locations, Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin, ready to serve you. Come by and see us or visit us online at applecollisioncenters.com.
Wednesday night.
Stamkos, let it fly. McKinnon moving in, he scores!
It's Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Final as Tampa Bay takes on Colorado. Coverage begins at 6:30 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Hey Nashville, I'm Gary Smith, head coach of Nashville SC. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Williams said you're not hurt, so if you're focused on football, how come you're not on the field?
Because we are on, I kind of just said that me and Vrave and them came to a plan where, what they think best for me right now, and, that's where I'm a player, and, I believe in Coach Vrave, and I believe in Ty and them that, since I've been here, they've been putting me in a great position to be the player I am today. So, I'm on a plan with them right now. So
Jeff just talked to us and he said that that he's on board with a plan with you and everybody else here to, at this point during this mini camp. But is it all designed to help him be at his freshest come training camp in the season at this point?
No, just doing exactly what we ask him to do. Like everybody else, everybody's got a different plan, and that's where we're at right now.
So is it, football to help him stay fresh? No. Hey, this is Coach Vrabel's plan. This isn't my plan. So in the Gentry Estes column where he kind of makes us worry about could Jeffrey Simmons hold in, hold out, hold whatever, and I explained that he didn't have any leverage on this, and Jeffrey Simmons cannot hold the Titans over a barrel here. Spot Track, whatever the hell it's called, the salary cap website that makes people think that the salary cap's real, says that Jeffrey Simmons' value is $21 million a season. The Titans would sign him for $21 million a day. If he were to go to the Titans and say, I'm willing to do $21 million, which is DeForest Buckner's contract, they would do it.
But you know why they haven't done that?
Because he's not going to want
DeForest that.
Buckner's 2-year-old contract.
No, he's not going to want that.
He's not.
That's why.
So Joe today was talking about, he and I were texting or whatever. Joe threw out a contract, $25 million guaranteed over 4 years, $85 million total, so $21 million. So that's the same as DeForest Buckner. Chris Jones signed a 4 years.
Was it 25 or 21?
No, it's 21 per season, $25 million guaranteed.
Okay.
So you're basically guaranteeing a season.
Okay.
And I looked it up. Chris Jones. Now, Chris Jones was on the franchise tag when he signed this deal, so he was getting close to free agency. But Chris Jones signed 2 years ago before the 2023 salary cap money is going to explode everything. The TV rights deal or whatever. Chris Jones signed a 4-year, $85 million contract with $37 guaranteed.
Like, Jeffrey Simmons is not going to sign a $25 million guaranteed contract. That's just ridiculous.
$12 million less guaranteed than what somebody signed 2 years ago.
Exactly. Do that.
Joe. Phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. AG, the president of the John Robinson fan club, is going to kick us off. Go ahead, AG.
What's going on? Good show. Yeah, I feel like we kind of fumbled. Situation. I feel like we should have got. Hello.
Yeah, go say that again, AG.
Yeah, I feel like we kind of fumbled the ball a little bit on the A.J. Brown situation, and I do not want to see that happen again. If we can't get even though they what they do, I feel like we can start getting rid of the guys. The contract done. Let's get rid of them, make sure we get the proper trade value, because I feel like we could have got way more for A.J. Brown when the other teams were trying to get a receiver instead of wait to the last minute. We couldn't make a deal. Let's go ahead and get rid of the players. The fans, I'm a fan too. We're going to be a little upset or whatever. But I'm saying if we can't get the deal done, let's get them on the body.
Okay, so, AG, I want to hit on your point. I hear what you're saying, and I want to hit on your point. I appreciate your call. And this, I think, is more of an AJ question than it is a Simmons question. Do you think they botched the trade? Do you think if, when Rich Cimini was putting out there that the 10th overall pick could be in play and that they really were looking at DK Metcalf and A.J. Brown and, could they go after one of those guys? And, and then he told Derek that it was all bull crap, even though he's the one that reported it and everything else. And we talked about how it felt like the Jets were telling Cimini that the 10th overall pick was on the table. Should the Titans have called the Jets that day and asked for the 10th overall pick? Or do you think 18 is the best the Titans could have done on A.J.? And I only ask this because didn't the Eagles have 15?
Yes, they did.
I think the Eagles had 15 and 18. Now, I'm not crazy. I believe John Robinson probably asked for 15 first. Like, if I had to guess.
If he didn't, then he's a much worse negotiator than I ever thought he was.
So I actually was thinking about this, not to get all conspiracy theorists or whatever.
13. Which that makes it even worse.
They had 13. And then they trade back to 15, I think? Or maybe they traded from 15 to 13.
Maybe. They took Jordan Davis at 13.
I mean, Philadelphia in the draft, I mean, it's like Jimmy Johnson with Dallas, where it's like they didn't. Jimmy Johnson got all those picks in the Herschel Walker trade from Minnesota, and they did not make a single pick in that slot where they got the pick from Minnesota because they were moving up and down so much down the board. And that's how the trade chart came into existence. But I do wonder if the Titans maxed the value of return for A.J. Brown. Now, they did get a third-round pick, and that was
Malik Willis.
That was useful because they probably don't trade out of 26 if they don't get the extra picks, and then that allowed them to trade out of 26, and so they did get more picks. You have to give them credit for that. But I did think that A.J. was going to be more than just what they got. The one thing that I was always told, though, and to me it's not a cap thing, it's an owner thing, is every high-end pick is considered to be one player. So if I'm trading for A.J. Brown, I have to trade you a player in order. In this case, it's Treylon Burks and the third-round pick. So I'm trading you two players to get A.J. Brown. And I was also told that the way teams value those picks is that they look at the contract that they then have to give the player as another first-round pick. So I have to give you a first-round pick to get the player, then I have to give you a first-round pick to give the player the contract. Like, they value it as I'm giving up 2 first-round picks because if the Eagles had drafted Treylon Burks instead, then the Eagles wouldn't have had to give anybody the big contract. So that's the way that these teams view it, which I think makes at least a little bit of sense. So maybe that played a role into okay, we're trading for AJ, but we're also giving him the contract. And I could see that being why it would tamp down the price a little bit.
But going back to the Jets situation, where they were basically dangling the 10th overall pick carrot in front of the Titans' face, if this is what we're willing to deal, I think you would be remiss if you didn't at least look at that and say, well, the Titans could have gotten the 10th overall pick, waited on AJ, and then got the 18th overall pick instead.
Don't you think they called?
They had to have.
I mean, if they called the Eagles, don't you think they... Oh, you know what the other thing about it is, too?
What?
AJ didn't want to play for the Jets. Remember AJ tweeted out, like somebody tweeted something that was like, go to the Jets, and then said they trash, and he liked the tweet that was they trash?
Oh, all of the A.J. Brown semantics of let's look through, what he replied to and what he's liked is so ridiculous.
But I don't think A.J. would have gone to the Jets.
Could he have told the Titans, I don't want to go there, and the Titans can obey?
The Titans don't have to obey, but the Jets aren't going to trade the 10th overall pick if A.J.'s not going to sign an extension with them.
I guess that's true.
Which Howie Roseman said in Philadelphia that was a requirement of the deal, was that they get that contract worked out. The contract was worked out around noon. Now, I was listening to Robbie and Joe, and I was actually going to say this when I joked that I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I saw the video of Vrabel's reaction when they drafted Treylon Burks.
Oh, I heard them talking about this morning.
Everybody seems to think. I mean, I saw it, and Vrabel doesn't look happy. But let me ask this question to everybody:
has Vrabel ever looked happy?
When the hell does he look happy?
Yeah.
I mean, the only time I can think off the top of my head of Vrabel looking happy is when he was screwing with Belichick in the playoff game with the clock, and that was pure joy. But outside of that, Vrabel's never happy. But so maybe I'm crazy, but I did not read Vrabel's body language at the trade and say, Vrabel hates this. But Robbie and Joe were talking about this, and Joe had the theory that, Vrabel had to know that this was in the cards because...
Yes.
Did he?
How can he not? How can the head coach not know that trading your number one wide receiver away is not in the cards?
Ian, do you think that Floyd would have told Jeff Fisher that?
That's different.
That we're going to trade A.J. Brown, or that we're thinking about it or taking calls?
Yep.
Probably.
I don't think he would have.
You think it's one of those super
secret,
one of those super secret things where the GM's one of those things where if you know you're going to do that, you don't tell anybody.
So Rich Snead was the longtime number 2, director of whatever. I don't know. Rich Snead was the longtime number 2 guy here with the Titans. And one time he threatened to quit because he went to Floyd and was like, you never listen to anything that I say. You always do the opposite of whatever I say. What's the point of me being here or whatever? He's like, no, Rich, I need to hear what you think. And then I factor it into the decision. But he used to tell me that when he would sit there around, the meetings leading up to the draft, he would sit there and he would listen to what everybody had to say, and he wouldn't talk because ultimately whatever he was going to do was his decision.
Yeah.
And my guess is, and I'm not saying that, my gut tells me Vrabel and Robinson are cool enough that they probably
had
that communication, probably. But I'm not ruling it out. The one person who definitely knew was Amy. Amy
of course.
Definitely knew. And my guess is if you're going to the owner about it, you probably told the coach. But I'm just throwing that out there as a possibility. I see your phones are lined up, so we'll get to them. 615-737-1025. Stillman and Company right here. It's ESPN 1025 The Game. And, of course, we are streaming live, as always, on the Game Nashville app.
At some point, it's a combination of who did you play and what does your skill set look like.
Get the best analysis of the big stories in the sports world with ESPN's Jason Fitz.
If you reach for a quarterback in the draft because you need one, you're going to set your franchise back 5 years.
Join Fitzy every Wednesday at 4:30. Presented by Blood Assurance. Jason Fitz.
I am 5'9.5"
on ESPN
1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From Fox 17 News, this is a Code Red weather alert.
I'm Fox 17 Code Red meteorologist Greg Bobus. High temperatures today, upper 90s near 100 degrees. Low humidity, but plenty of sunshine. An extreme UV index for today. Keep the sunscreen going. No rain till the weekend.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the happy face truck today.
So many people here are getting real lasting joint pain relief from QC Kinetics.
QC Kinetics has changed my life.
I would recommend QC to anybody. The work that QC Kinetics did paid off exponentially.
It brought me back to an effective age of almost in my 20s and 30s.
QC Kinetics uses cutting-edge regenerative medicine, natural biologics from your own body, precision treatments that can restore and repair damaged tissue in your aching joints, with no meds, no steroids, no drugs, and no downtime.
I got a very quick resolution to my pain.
It is a all-natural therapy. You're using you to fix you.
I got my life back. I got my smile back. And best of all, I got my laugh back.
Don't live with that pain anymore. And don't let them tell you surgery is your only option. Learn more about regenerative options from the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics. Call now for your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024. 615-249-4024.
Hello, Nashville. Looking to save money on your wireless bill? You can when you choose Consumer Cellular. Sign up today and you'll get the exact same coverage as the leading carriers for half the cost. This gives you direct access to the widest, most established cellular networks available. Consumer Cellular offers flexible monthly plans with no contract and simple, affordable service that's perfect for your lifestyle and budget. Featuring a wide variety of top-of-the-line phones from Samsung, Motorola, and Apple, you'll find a phone that's perfect for you. Everything is backed by a 100% risk-free guarantee, plus 100% U.S.-based award-winning customer support. Switch your talk, text, and data plan before July 31st and get $100 on every new line of service. Right-size your plan and downsize your bill with Consumer Cellular. Visit consumercellular.com/Nashville100 and enter code Nashville100 to start saving today.
Upgrade her diamond ring this summer with no money down and 0 interest for 5 years. Yes! This killer offer has been extended through July 2nd. Our most aggressive offer of the year continues, but won't be extended again. It's not just on engagement rings. It's earrings, bracelets, bands, colored gemstone jewelry. Buy now, pay nothing down, and spread your payments over 5 years with 0 interest. So that $5,000 eternity band comes out to just $85 a month. One-of-a-kind designer jewelry is also included in this amazing offer. Now through July 2nd at Genesis Diamonds. Open this Sunday. Green Hills and Cool Springs. Approved credit.
Darren McFarland.
I feel like we're a better playoff team.
Willie Donick.
You're in a window of a division you can win.
Chase McCabe.
I'm not signing him for more than $1 million.
The DDC. Weekdays from 10 to 2.
Presented by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling.
On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Sounds like this has been a game-changing day for all of us.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
On ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Said he's healthy, so how many healthy players
Again,
are you
I make a lot of decisions, and I get to decide who practices and who doesn't.
Oh, there you go, Mike.
I decide who practices and who doesn't.
You're the man.
I'm Mike Vrabel, and I decide who practices.
You're the man. Way to go, Vrabel. It's so funny. You watch that Tom Brady documentary about the Edgers where he and Teddy Bruschi and Brady talk about how hard they worked. And then you see, like, Vrabel, like, I decide that Jeffrey Simmons should take the day off of practice with no days before it and no days after it until training camp. So, obviously, nothing to see here. Okay, Mike. Let's go to your phones as promised. 615-737-1025. I mean, Vrabel sometimes can just be such a judge.
When it comes down to it.
And, like, I love
Yes.
Vrabel. Like, I want everybody out there to know. I like Vrabel. I don't know if Vrabel likes me. Sometimes I think he does. Sometimes I think he hates me. I don't know. But
Getting the vibe that I don't really think Vrabel likes me very much.
I think Vrabel's just starting to get to know you. I think it's going to be a nice little process here. It's going to be a nice little kinship.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how nice this is going to be.
What do we have in our text line?
Keith in Bowling Green texted in and says, the advantage to extending Simmons' contract right now is they could sign him to a 5-year extension, $27 million a year, with a big signing bonus, whereas if they wait, the AAV would probably be around $33 million a year.
So here's the thing. Number one, AAV means absolutely nothing in the NFL. I mean, AJ is slated to make, in the last year of his $100 million contract, AJ is slated to make $39 million a season in that last season.
He's not making $39 million.
You know how much money AJ is making next year? Straight cash that is going into his pocket. Not salary cap number, not whatever, like actual cash that is going into AJ Brown's pocket. in the second year of a $100 million contract?
I don't know.
$12 million.
Okay.
Like, that's it?
Really not much.
Like, that's it?
That's really not
You know,
much.
that's the point
When
of
he
this.
wanted, he
I want
was
80,
turning away
80 million.
16.
$80 million guaranteed.
When he was turning away 16 with incentives up to 20, which isn't even true. When he was being offered 22 by the Titans, reportedly.
No, 20.
20. So enjoy your 12.
And so he'll make $12 million next year. Now he'll make like 24 this year, and I forget
Which
how
is a
much
good
he'll
bit
make
of
the
money.
year after that. But they can easily get out of it in that last year. It's $39 million. So again, the AAV really doesn't matter. Here's the thing on Simmons. If Simmons wants to do a deal with the Titans, it has to be a Titan-friendly deal. Now, if he does wait and he does make $12 million over the next 2 years, and the Titans do place the non-exclusive, or I would say they would have to probably place the exclusive franchise tag on him, and now you're talking about, probably $20 million, $21 million at that point, because it'll go up, whatever. It's 17 now. We said add 5 to it just because, so that's $22 million. And then he plays through that, and he's the most dominant player in the NFL at that point to Aaron Donald, because Aaron Donald will be 34 years old. Simmons will be 28 years old, so he will get a bite of the apple, a big crack at it, and he'll be able to get whatever he wants if he's that good. But that's a big if. And there's a lot of ifs. And a lot of times when you got that kind of money coming to you, you really would like to knock out the ifs. I talked to an agent today, and I said, look, if the other team's got your rights essentially for 3 years, and I said, let's use Kyler as an example. So obviously he doesn't represent Kyler. I was like, let's use Kyler as an example. He said, yes, you have to factor that in. It's like there's no way you can't walk up to an NFL team and say, we'd like a full market value contract today, even though you've got our rights for the next 3 years. That's not how it works.
No.
And, I mean, not that I believe Jerry Reinsdorf, but in the Last Dance documentary, we talked about how Pippen signed that crazy contract that was so undervalued and everything else. And he said that he told Pippen, don't sign it. It's too long. It's too much. But Pippen had to sign it because Pippen felt like, his brother and his dad had both been put in wheelchairs, and he was afraid, like, what if something happens to me? And he had back surgery and everything else.
And that's a fair concern.
So Pippen signed the long-term deal, and then the Bulls reaped the benefits by paying him $2 million a year while they won 6 championships. But that was his decision because he wanted it that way. What else we got?
Another texter says, you think the Titans would do say $15 million a year over the next 2 years, the next offseason give him the massive extension. I know they don't have to, but it shows Jeff he's valuable to the franchise, and it gives them goodwill for future negotiations.
So Joe was talking about this, about how if they don't make Jeffrey Simmons happy after what happened with AJ, that everybody in the locker room will be mad. I don't think
see
guys
that being the case.
I don't think guys worry about this stuff, about what you did with the other guy. I think it's more so because remember how anytime we ask Hal Gill about Forsberg's contract, he's like, the way I always interpreted it was that's your business outside the room, but when you step into the room, it's all about the team.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's kind of how I feel like those things operate. It's like they were talking about the idea this morning about how the Titans have a reputation for not paying people, that if you don't pay Simmons after you didn't pay AJ, that people are going to look around and say, man, they don't really pay these guys. And I'm sitting there thinking, and I texted Robbie, they just paid Harold Landry. What are you talking about? Like, they just gave Harold Landry a full market value contract. I mean, everybody else on that defensive line's market value.
And also, Jeffrey Simmons is not due for an extension or for a raise. He's not due for that yet. So just because he wants it right now, and if the Titans don't give it to him right now, that doesn't make the Titans a cheap organization. That's just the Titans saying, you have 2 years left on your contract.
San Francisco a cheap organization?
No.
Is Arizona a cheap organization? Because they're not giving Debo and Kyler the money. Steven's up next on Caleb Farley. Thank you for calling. Go ahead, Steven.
So I just wanted to get your thoughts. So Caleb Farley, he can have all the talent in the world, but I was looking at his college stats, and he didn't even have but like maybe 55 tackles. And then last season, I believe he had 3 before the injury. So with all his injuries and, the lack of contact, I mean, we're talking about a guy that hasn't even reached 60 tackles in college plus the NFL, and how much they're going to rely on him. It baffles me that J-Rob would reach that far on a guy. And so I just wanted to get your thoughts on how they're going to be leaning so much on him this season, but yet he literally hasn't even reached 60 tackles yet. Love the show, buddy.
Thanks, Steven. First of all, I don't value corners by how many tackles they make. That is not a middle linebacker, yes. Yeah. Corner, no. Secondly, yes, this is a huge concern. The day after the draft, my opening segment when they drafted Farley was that I got buddies in cryptocurrency that were like, crypto is the next thing, man. And
that is how they all sound.
I wasn't, all of them. And I wasn't into crypto. I mean, I bought a tiny little bit of it at one point, but not like any real money worth of crypto. But my friends were, life savings into crypto. And I was like, look, maybe these guys end up on a private island and I have to fly Southwest, but I'm not putting all my money in crypto. And when you draft all these injured players, that's what you're doing. How the crypto people doing today?
Not great.
Oh, okay. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. There's a lot to get to today, but I have to get to this because Charles Barkley made a very, very solid point, a very simple point. And it's a discussion we had yesterday about why the NBA ratings are so bad and why, and Kevin Durant just perpetuated the point that we made yesterday. So I want to hit on that. Stillman and Company, it's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
The MTSU Blue Raiders live here.
Touchdown, Middle Tennessee! 3-ball, yes, sir!
And when you're in the borough, tune us in on 97.5.
In the end zone, caught, touchdown!
We are Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Hey, it's Mike from Newton Chevrolet Buick GMC. I've got some good news and some bad news. The good news is we've been getting more and more new vehicles in stock every day. The bad news is they go out as quick as they come in. So be sure to reach out and let us know what you're looking for. And as soon as it comes in, we can call you. We can even order a new vehicle to your exact wants and needs. Don't worry, we have more good news. We have a great way for you to get some extra cash for all your summer adventures. We're buying any and all used cars. We're offering top dollar for your vehicle. Reach out. We can start with an online video appraisal. Even more good news. With Newton Fast Pass, you can buy a car without ever leaving the pool. Really? You can buy your car from anywhere. Wherever you are, you can buy online. And on top of that, we'll deliver the car to you. Build your car or buy your car online in Newton today. Visit NewtonChevroletBuickGMC.com to learn more.
Summer heat is here. How is your air conditioner holding up? Costs are rising everywhere. Grocery bills, gas bills, utility bills, you name it, up, up, up. Is your AC old, inefficient, costing more than it should? Interest rates are rising, but not at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Qualified buyers have up to 72 months. No interest for a new York air conditioner and 6 months no interest for repairs. That's at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. All new systems come with a 10-year parts and labor warranty. That's at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, a York certified comfort expert company. Schedule now at springhillac.com.
Spring is in the air, and that means all kinds of fun in the sun is just around the corner. But if you're feeling low energy, if you've put on weight and just aren't getting the gains from your workouts, if you aren't sleeping well and your libido isn't what it used to be, maybe you aren't looking forward so much to sunny days and shirtless weather. This is Kim for the Tennessee Men's Clinic, and if this sounds like you, we might very well have the answer, because you may very well be suffering from low testosterone. And that, my friend, is something that can be effectively treated to get you back to the guy you used to be. The Tennessee Men's Clinic has treated thousands of men for low T. Our treatment programs are highly effective, with most men seeing results in just a few weeks. Assuming you're like most guys, you'll sleep better, have better workouts, have higher energy, and your sex life might just improve as well. So give us a call. Just $99 gets you a PSA and T test and a medical consult. Call 615-208-9090. That's 615-208-9090. Or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatments extra. Results vary.
7.5 million children in Ukraine need to find water and shelter. They need a place to sleep and comfort in the dark. Show them the world cares. Support UNICEF. UNICEFUSA.org/action.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
NASCAR is back. Kyle Larson returns to Nashville Speedway a winner.
102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
The leading receiver.
Awesome game 7.
Checkered flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Where you have a voice.
We're one play away from an injury.
He knows this. He's a study of the game.
And we have strong opinions.
He's been awful. I don't think they were trying, and that's why I feel the way I feel.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman and Caroline Fenton. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving ESPN 102.5. The Game streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry. Live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. So I do see some people putting out articles about the NBA TV ratings, and they're the lowest, and they're this, and they're that, but it's all agenda-based. It's all the political people that are like, see, the NBA has gone woke, and because the NBA, and I say yesterday, I don't think it's political. I don't think it's political. And then I had the same discussions on the show yesterday that I had Saturday on SiriusXM, and I got all these calls all over the country, and I surmised after hearing the calls that the problem was that, honestly, the people just don't like the NBA players nowadays. They think they're too soft. They think they're too big of crybabies. They think that they don't care about basketball enough, that they don't care about winning at basketball enough. And everybody compares it with the golden age, Michael Jordan, and that back in those days, there was no question as to what Michael Jordan cared about. I mean, Michael Jordan cared about winning. That was it. And his entire documentary was, I'm sorry, I cared too much about winning. And all those guys were that way. Reggie Miller was that way. Karl Malone was that way. I mean, Hakeem Olajuwon was that way. Charles Barkley was that way. So I didn't even know that Charles Barkley said this until Kevin Durant got all salty about Charles Barkley saying this on TV and made an issue of it. And I think Kevin Durant highlighted the exact point that I was making yesterday about why I think people don't love basketball anymore, and it's because of the players. It's because of the crying. It's because of the complaining. It's because of the joining up with a team to cheat your way to win I shouldn't say cheat your way, but cheap your way to winning a championship, whatever. So this is what Charles Barkley said on ESPN Friday after the Warriors won the title. And first of all, I think we can all admit, Chuck is the man.
Yeah, Chuck's awesome.
I mean, he is the man.
I love Charles Barkley.
He is the voice of truth. So here's what Chuck said on ESPN Friday.
Before KD gets that great respect from all the old heads, he's going to have to win a championship as the bus driver. Listen, he joined that team had already won a championship, so no disrespect, that's just a fact. The old guys like myself, hey, KD's an all-time hell of a player, but until he is the guy on a championship team, we're not going to ever give him the respect, that he probably deserves. And that's just the way it is. And like I say, the game hasn't changed. Kobe said it. LeBron said it. And so we're going to hold him to the same high standard.
Got a problem with that?
None at all.
Ian, got a problem with that?
Not in general, I don't think.
I mean, everybody freaking knows it. We talked about it on the show Friday about the biggest loser of the finals was Kevin Durant. Because Kevin Durant was a great basketball player and still is a good basketball player. Great, I'm going to need to see a little bit more out of because in the playoffs he was terrible. So Kevin Durant was a great basketball player. He took Oklahoma City to the championship. They lost to LeBron and the Heat in 5 games. He gets them to Game 7 against Golden State. It's a great game. They lose. And then he goes and joins Golden State, and they ruin basketball for a couple of years. And then he leaves, and he starts his own team, and they get swept in the playoffs. That's Kevin Durant, right? That's how people remember Kevin Durant. So, again, he went to the Warriors. They won, but the Warriors had won without him. And then they won without him again, just saying, hey, you're just part of the team. Like, you're not the main guy. This isn't your team. And now everybody's taking this bus driver thing literally, and they're like, well, KD drove the bus. But again, that was Steph's team. And if this finals proved anything, it
solidified the fact that it is Steph's team.
It's Steph's team. Like, no disrespect, Scotty, but it wasn't your team.
And I think every player on that team would admit this is Steph's team. Klay Thompson would admit this is Steph's team. Maybe not Draymond.
It's definitely Steph's team.
Steph's team.
Everybody
I think that's
knows
how
it.
everyone perceives the Golden State Warriors because that's what it is.
And I think that's what people thought it was when this all happened. But now that they've won without him again, it's obvious. Everybody's saying it. So Kevin Durant got on Twitter last night, and he's such a freaking softie. So Chuck said that. No problem with anything. I have no problem with what Chuck said right there. And he said, all this expletive is nasty. Another terrible analogy from a hating old head that can't accept that we making more bread than them. It's just timing, Chucky. Don't hate the player. First of all, the reason Kevin Durant's making so much money is because the TV contracts in the NBA have absolutely exploded, in large part thanks to Barkley's era. Now, this is just me. And we do this a lot. We hear news we don't want to hear. We hear opinions we don't like. And instead of addressing the actual opinion, we just go
You're
after
wrong.
the source.
You're wrong.
No, it's not even you're wrong. It's that guy is biased against me. That's why.
That guy hates me.
That guy, it's personal. It's Now, let me ask you this question. Kevin Durant's thing is we're making so much money and Charles Barkley doesn't like it. They're making so much money because of the TV contracts. You think Charles Barkley has a problem with the TV contracts being worth so much money in the NBA?
He's benefiting from it.
Of course he is. So, no, you think Chuck, I mean, come on. Like, I was talking to somebody about this the other day. If I had to pick between meeting Charles Barkley or Michael Jordan, I don't know who I'd pick. It'd be tough for me.
I would pick Charles Barkley, but you love Michael Jordan.
But I love Barkley. And
you
so,
would pick Michael Jordan.
I love Barkley. Like, Barkley, I think he's the
There's
most.
a picture of Michael Jordan right there.
I know, but that's only because I don't have a picture of Chuck. But if I
We'll
did.
get you one.
Oh, I love Chuck. I love Charles Barkley. But the thing is, Charles Barkley doesn't care. He's never cared. I mean, one time they ran a poll in the Orlando Sentinel about Shaq signing a contract. And I think like 80% of the people said don't give Shaq a new contract or something like that. And Barkley went to the media because they were practicing with Team USA. Barkley went to the media and said, how dare those, this guy brought glory to this redneck one-horse town, and this is the way you treat this man.
Oh, my gosh.
Like, that's how Barkley doesn't care. But so, again.
But everyone loves him.
But this goes back to Durant, which is, this is why people don't like the NBA anymore, is because the players are freaking crybabies.
They take everything very personally.
All crybabies, but LeBron's a crybaby. Durant's
100%.
a crybaby.
Kyrie.
James Harden is a crybaby.
Kyrie is the
Russell Westbrook is a
president of the crybabies.
baby. Kyrie's a crybaby who's crying right now. I mean, they're all, except for Steph Curry, it feels like they're all freaking crybabies. And that's the problem. It's like, it feels like you guys don't even love basketball that much. Michael Jordan used to just be so furious and incensed at the notion that what people said about him was Larry Bird and Magic Johnson win championships, Michael Jordan wins scoring titles, which is the most backhanded way of saying you're not as good as Magic, you're not as good as Larry. And that's why it was such a big deal for Michael to finally get past the bad boy Pistons and to beat Magic Johnson in the finals and won the championship. And that's why there's that image of Jordan holding the trophy, crying, and his dad's got his arm around him, because Jordan had put so much into it. And finally, he had proven it. He had done it. He crowned him. And then when he wins the third title, Jordan got out of the game because he didn't have anything to prove. He's like, what am I supposed to do now? Like, I've done it all.
Yeah.
What do I need to do? And I get that. I get that vibe.
Let your game do the talking.
Yes. And that's the thing is that, Kevin Durant, because he can't put the freaking phone down, Kevin Durant got so bent out of shape of like, I can't win here in Oklahoma City, that unlike Michael Jordan, who figured it out and broke through and won championships with Chicago, KD just went and joined the Warriors. He just went to join their team, and they automatically start winning. And
there's nothing wrong with that.
Well, it ruined the game. But
ruined the game, I don't know.
I think it set all this in motion.
The concept of a
why
super
people don't
team
like it.
was not new whenever Kevin Durant went to Golden State.
But Kevin Durant goes to Golden State, ruins basketball for 3 years because nobody can watch. They win 2 championships, and then all of a sudden, he left Golden State to go prove, okay, I can go to somebody else's team and I can win. And so when I win, this will prove all the haters that say that I only won because I joined Golden State. This will prove to them that I'm up there with LeBron and I'm up there with all the greats. Michael and Magic and Larry and all those guys. That there's a difference between Karl Malone and me.
But he's really just proved everyone right.
Steph has proven everybody right, and he's proven everybody right because he didn't have his foot behind the three-point line last year against Milwaukee. He got swept this year by the Boston Celtics. And this goes back, I think, to the larger question when we look at the TV ratings for baseball and basketball, and we see that the World Series and the NBA Finals are incredibly similar. And I spent hours talking about this on Saturday, and we talked about it yesterday. And how many calls did we take yesterday about this? We had a bunch of calls and texts and everything. And the one thing I can't get over is I believe that the basketball players do not understand that the fans don't like this. That the fans do not like the crying and the attitudes and this sense that they don't really love basketball that much or that they're okay with losing or things like that. It kind of reminds me of the national anthem debate in the NFL because different owners felt differently about the anthem. And it just happened to match up that the owner of the Jets and the owner of the 49ers was pro-kneeling for the anthem, and the owner of the Cowboys was anti-kneeling for the anthem. And it almost seemed very geographical of how people felt. But
aligned, yes.
But there was a big discussion with the NFL about whatever it is, we have to make this not a story. However it is, whether it is to say, no kneeling, well, then that makes it a story. If we say you can kneel, it makes it a story. How do we just get the kneeling out of the discussion without telling people no kneeling and without telling people everybody can kneel? Without doing it, how do we get it out?
No national anthem.
Then that's a story.
That is a story, too.
I mean, this is
everything's a story.
So the NFL had to figure out, how do we do this? And you know what they realized what it was?
What?
Ignore everything. Ignore it. So when some politician gets up there like that woman in Lancaster when they were going over the state budget about funding the money for the Titan Stadium, and that crazy woman in Lancaster started screaming about how she doesn't want to build a stadium for people to kneel for the national anthem, that is it. Just ignore it. Don't worry about it. Don't respond to it. Don't talk about it. Don't nothing. Just ignore it. And that's worked for the NFL. They realized they had a problem, and it's an easily solved problem, but they got together. That's what these basketball players need to do. They all need to get together, and they need to realize, and it's hard because they think that they've made so much money that it doesn't matter what the ratings say because I'm making all this money. And they need to say, look, Michael Jordan was getting 30 million viewers. You're getting 12. So
it's a different era, and there are a lot of other options of things to watch. If you don't want to watch basketball, you can do plenty of other things. Back in Michael Jordan's era, yes, it was Michael Jordan, and also how much else was on TV. But I think it
Steph and the top 15 players in the league. The top 15 popular players. And I'm sitting down with him. Like Julius Randle, we don't need him at this discussion. But we're having this discussion. And I would say to them, do you guys want to be baseball? Because you're a hell of a lot closer to baseball than you think you are.
And I think it's the same reason why I think a lot of people in Nashville now have a really bad taste in their mouth about A.J. Brown that they never had before. It's because he's being a crybaby and making all of his business public on social media. It's the exact same thing that all of these NBA players do. They air all of their dirty laundry. They cry and complain about things that they have really no right to cry and complain about publicly, and they do it on social media, and they pick fights, and it's not fun. It's not a fun product to watch, and I think it's a lot of the reason why people look at A.J. Brown and they're like, good riddance.
So let's get your phones in on this. Again, there's a lot to get to, whether it's the Deshaun Watson stuff, Gronk is retired, which I do want to get to, but I mean, I thought the Charles Barkley comment was so pedestrian, and it's what everybody else is saying. It just happened to be Chuck who said it, and Kevin Durant got all salty about it, and this, I think, is the NBA's biggest problem. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025, and there's one other thing about this that just drives me freaking insane, and it is the thing that we do not need to normalize as being the truth. I'll explain what that is. FanDuel Sportsbook is my official sportsbook app. I love the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Go yard all June long with $5 Dinger Tuesdays on FanDuel Sportsbook. This season, all customers will get $5 for every home run hit by both teams when you place a $25 to hit a home run wager on a Tuesday MLB game. And the best part about Dinger Tuesdays is even if your bet loses, FanDuel will pay you $5 for every home run hit. There is no way to go against Aaron Judge right now. This guy's freaking on fire. and he's in a contract year, and the Yankees want to pay him $17 million, and he wants $21 million in arbitration, and Aaron Judge is launching everything out of the yard. So I would just go with Aaron Judge. So what are you waiting for? Pick your home run hitter and turn big swings into big wins. There's no better place to bet America's pastime than on America's #1 sportsbook. Head over to your FanDuel account or download the FanDuel Sportsbook app and sign up with the promo code JGM. That's promo code JGM. 21 and older in present Tennessee. Bonus issues non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. Max bonus $25 and restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
If you're on the road between downtown Nashville,
They're still in good shape to make the playoffs.
and I-840,
Players make it clear they don't want to be somewhere anymore.
there's a new way to hear all your favorite shows and sports programming on 102.5 The Game.
I go back to that play and I shake my head. What I was worried about is that they were still just going to keep the goal.
It's 106.3 FM.
Think about all the good Titans teams.
This is very much so a run-first offense.
Now you have two choices to hear Nashville's best sports talk. Check out 106.3 now and add it as a favorite.
The Jack Harlow meal from KFC is here. Try Jack's favorite meal from KFC. Order your Jack Harlow meal on the KFC app. That's finger-licking good. Prices and participation may vary. Tax and substitutions extra.
Tough jobs need tough equipment. For equipment that gets the job done right, elite certified service, and genuine Kubota parts, choose Coleman Tractor Company, Tennessee's largest full-line Kubota dealer. Get hay season done right with a Kubota M7 tractor. User-friendly controls, all-day comfort, powerful versatility. Lease the Kubota M7 for as low as $13,200 annually, now through June 13th. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com for more information. Visit Coleman Tractor Company, your local Kubota dealer in Clarksville, Nashville, Paris, and White House today.
Zines First is the official sign company for 102.5 The Game. Go to sfnash.com.
June 23rd, 11 to 1 at Nissan Stadium. Bring 5 non-perishable food items to receive 1 complimentary ticket. Limited to the first 250 donations while supplies last. Restrictions may apply.
Tracy, line 1 is looking for a quote on a mini split.
Crazy spring temperatures are heating up Dwight HVAC phone lines.
Next week we're booked solid.
If they don't find more technicians, they'll be in hot water.
How are we down 3 technicians in the past 3 weeks?
Indeed can help them hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Earn up to $500 in sponsored job credits by interviewing on Indeed. Visit Indeed.com/credit. Terms and conditions apply.
Houston Clinic Orthopedics at Harding Place offers world-class orthopedic care. The doctors at their Harding Place location specialize in general orthopedics, foot and ankle, hip, pain management, hand, wrist, and elbow trauma, total joints, and orthopedic spine surgery. They offer same-day appointments, so get back to enjoying life sooner. Schedule your appointment online at tnhouston.com. Conveniently located at 394 Harding Place in Nashville. When experience matters, trust Houston Clinic Orthopedics.
Never miss a moment of the show.
What is this? Check it out.
Subscribe to the Stillman and Company podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
On ESPN 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
The other thing that needs to be said, this was not a good NBA final. There was never a game where you sat there, maybe game 1, but there was never a game that you sat there riveted in the last couple of minutes, possession by possession. There really wasn't. I mean, all right, the end of game 4 had some drama to it with the 4-point lead, which dissipated. Game 1 with the Celtic comeback in the fourth quarter a little bit. But last night, the game was never in doubt. Game 5 was a runaway as the last 6 minutes came through. And game 2 is not a contest. So, and game 3, the Celtics won by 16. So I don't know exactly where you are going to find edge of your seat basketball.
There you go. That was Mad Dog Russo on SiriusXM. And, again, I think the ratings for basketball were so bad for the NBA Finals. Again, Game 6, $13.99 million. Baseball, $13.99 million. Game 5, baseball beat basketball. So, and they were going up against the Dallas Cowboys game on Sunday Night Football. It's time to be honest with basketball. So, again, Kevin Durant, I think he's part of the problem. Kevin Durant got salty because Charles Barkley said that he needs to go win a championship on his own team in order to get the respect. Mm-hmm. And he got all salty about it. And I'm going to tell you what I think one of the problems is. And ESPN perpetuates this problem. And you've worked with some of these people. Mm-hmm. But it is I'm offended by that obvious take basketball person. And it usually comes from younger players that are now analysts, or in the case of C.J. McCollum, who disagreed with Barkley, people that are currently playing. This is why I don't like talking to current players, and this is why I don't like current players as analysts, because they're always afraid of, I got to always defend the guy and say whatever. So, again, Barkley just basically said that Durant needs to win a championship in order to get the respect, which I think Barkley's talking about, the LeBron level respect, the Steph level respect, the Jordan level respect, the Kobe level respect.
The you can do it yourself respect.
Right. Look.
You're not a passenger.
Shaq went to Miami, won a championship. Kobe got Pau Gasol, won 2 championships. I mean, it would have been a thing. I mean, remember Shaq's rap video, or his he went to a club after he won the championship, and Kobe hadn't won championships without him.
Uh-huh.
And he got up there and he did the freestyle rap and he said, "Tell me how my ass tastes, Kobe." Like, you remember that?
Yes.
Like, so, I mean, come on now. So
Yes.
everybody knows it. Well, J.J. Redick was on First Take this morning, and he didn't like this. Here's what J.J. said.
I love Charles Barkley, and he's been so great for our game and so great for media for so long. He's wrong in this. He's just flat out wrong. To call Kevin Durant anything but the bus driver of those Warriors teams, and that is not, I want to be clear, that is not a knock on Steph Curry. Let's go to the Kevin Durant 2017 finals. 35 a game, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal, 1.6 blocks. Legs. His shooting splits that series, 56% from the field, 47% from 3, 92% from the free throw line. The following year, 29, 11, 7.5, 2.3 blocks a game, 52%, 41%, 96%. If that's not the bus driver, I don't know what is the bus driver.
Oh, my God. I mean, he scored more points. There were some games, shocking, where Scottie Pippen scored more points than Michael Jordan. So I guess Scottie was leading the Bulls, not Michael. Steve Kerr hit the game-winning shot to win the 97 finals. John Paxson hit the game-winning shots in both 91 and 93. Maybe he was more important than Michael. Please, it's Steph's team.
And that would be a much more valid argument that J.J. Redick is making if the Warriors didn't just win another championship without him. If the Warriors hadn't won a championship before him. Because I don't think anyone is making the argument that Kevin Durant isn't a good player, that Kevin Durant wasn't a big-time piece of that Warriors championship team. He is. Stephen A. Smith went on the air yesterday and said Kevin Durant is the best player in the NBA. I don't necessarily agree with that.
Got swept.
But Kevin Durant
in the first round.
He's getting his due. Nobody's accusing Kevin Durant of not contributing to that team, but calling it his team, calling it the bus driver of that team, it is so blatantly obvious that he wasn't because they just won without him.
Steph's team. And they proved
with the same core that they had with Kevin Durant in 2015.
I mean, it's, and he shouldn't be offended by that. He should go win a championship with Brooklyn.
Yes.
And then that way you can do the Steve Young and, get the monkey off my back. And he can go and say, "Hey, Chuck, tell me how my bottom tastes." Just like Shaq said that about Kobe. You can do that.
But also,
and it's fine. But here's the other thing I want to get to. Because it's the basketball people, right? C.J. McCollum was like, I disagree with Chuck. And, he said that yesterday.
Yeah, because they're still in the league.
J.J. Redick's out of the league.
Not, but
J.J. Redick's the one's like, hey, Draymond's got a popular podcast, Mad Dog. You need to let him be. So, what's crazy about this whole discussion they had on ESPN where, you heard J.J. Redick about the points Kevin Durant had in the championship in the finals, so you got to give him Marcus Spears, the football guy. I mean, for the people in the discussion, to make sense of this, it's the football guy. Here's what Marcus Spears said.
So here's my thing with this whole conversation, and JJ, the splits in the finals, amazing, right? But what we actually talking about, and legs hit it a little bit. We're talking about your path, and we know that him going to Golden State, he was a large part of them winning those championships. But we're not gonna sit on TV and act like it wasn't an easier road. That's just the reality. It don't have nothing to do with KD not being a great player. KD could get 35 a game long before he got to Golden State. KD was a generational talent long before he went to the Golden State Warriors. The reason why KD was knocked when he went there is because we all hold KD up to a standard that only a few get a chance to be held to. That's really what this boils down to.
The football guy makes the most
Speaking some
sense.
truth.
Again, when we talk about, guys, it's his team that won the championship. We don't look at the 2004 Pistons and say that was Ben Wallace's team or that was Rip Hamilton's team or that was Rasheed. We don't care. When we're talking about generational talents, like the guys that win multiple championships and carry their teams there and everybody else around them, no disrespect to Horace Grant, is replaceable. We're talking about Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal, Tim Duncan, and now Steph Curry, and LeBron James. In this setting, that's who we're talking about. And LeBron didn't arrive there until he went to Cleveland and he won the championship in Cleveland. That's why he walked off the plane holding the trophy with a Kermit drinking tea hat on, because it was like, what are the haters going to say now? And when Kevin Durant went to Brooklyn, he knew that he had to win the championship there because everybody was essentially downgrading his championships with the Warriors. And for the basketball people to be like, I'm offended, that's why people don't like basketball anymore. That's why it's all the, I'm offended. How dare you have that opinion? I'm offended. It's like, Michael knew it. Kobe knew it. Shaq knew it. Steph knew it. You knew it. Y'all knew it. And instead, here's Durant. No, Barkley's just mad because we make more money than him. You think Charles Barkley's hurting for money?
I think he's going to be just fine.
If Charles Barkley went to TNT and said, hey, I don't feel like doing this anymore, how much money would TNT give Charles Barkley in order to stay on TNT?
I don't know how much he's making now, but they'd offer double.
Well, I'll put it to you like this. Troy Aikman's getting $17 million a year to call football games. And let me ask you this. What do people watch more? Do they watch football for Aikman more, or do they watch TNT Thursday night games for Chuck and
People
Shaq
tune into
and
that
Kenny?
show specifically for his personality and Shaq, but I mean,
he could do.
Otherwise, nobody would care about that show.
You know what the thing is with that show? And they're all good. Ernie's good at his role. Shaq's good at his role. Kenny's good at his role. Chuck's good at his role. Take Chuck off that team.
It's different.
He can go win a championship doing TV with another team.
Ernie can't.
I'm not sure Shaq is going to go win any titles doing
I think
TV
Shaq
somewhere
would be
else.
just fine on TV by himself.
Watch NBA TV when Shaq's on there and there's no Chuck, or watch the Tuesday nights with Adam Lefkoe, because TNT has games on Tuesday nights. And it'll be Adam Lefkoe, Candace Parker, Dwayne Wade, and Shaq. It ain't Thursday. It ain't Thursday. It ain't Thursday when Chuck's in there. And they're all
Shaq
great.
can do just fine entertaining by himself.
Now,
DJ Diesel.
Now, Shaq will get the commercials like nobody else. But I'm just saying, Chuck, when it comes to TV, I mean, there is not a show in America that if they got called up and said, hey, Charles Barkley would like to come on, that wouldn't say yes. Like if they called up to the Sean Hannity program and said, Charles Barkley wants to come on. What time's that show on? 8 o'clock?
I have no idea.
Charles Barkley wants to come on at 8:15 on with Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity would be like, all right, let's move Donald Trump to tomorrow and let's put Charles Barkley on today. That's how good Charles Barkley is on. Everybody wants Charles Barkley. So I don't even know what I'm getting on my rant here, but we'll get your phones in on Sprinkle them in. 615-737-1025 here on the program. We do need to get to the Deshaun Watson news because I got a real big question about this that I don't hear anybody asking, which we'll do that coming up next. 615-737-1025. Hey, ESPN 102.5 and 106.3 The Game is Nashville's home for NASCAR. Tune in Friday through Sunday for the following races at the Nashville Superspeedway. Friday, it's the Rackley Roofing 200 at 6:30. Saturday, it's the Tennessee Lottery 250 at 2 o'clock. And Sunday, it's the Ally 400 at 3 o'clock. Also, join Chase McCabe every Sunday morning at 8 for Chasing Checkers as he talks to the drivers and gets you set for the race weekend. NASCAR on ESPN 102.5 and 106.3 The Game is presented by the Backyard Blues Pools, Tootsie's Infield Club, Nashville Superspeedway, and the Nashville Fairground Speedway.
Hey, I'm Ryan Johansson, and this is Smashville.
Back to Johansson, and Johansson tips it in with one hand on the stick.
You're listening to the flagship of the Nashville Predators radio network, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
The city famous for its music is about to be overwhelmed by the Symphony of Speed. June 24th through 26th, Nashville Superspeedway will host an exciting weekend of NASCAR racing and entertainment featuring the Ally 400 Cup Series race, the Tennessee Lottery 250, and the Rackley Roofing 200. Tickets are going fast, so visit NashvilleSuperspeedway.com or call 866-RACE-TIX and brace yourself for some full-throttle fun.
People are driving from all over to shop at Genesis Diamonds right now to take advantage of our very best financing offer. Now extended through July 2nd. 5 years, zero interest financing with zero down. It's a fantastic opportunity, making everything more affordable. How about a $6,000 GIA certified diamond for just $100 a month? A $4,000 pair of diamond stud earrings, just $67 a month. Don't miss this. We will not be extending it again. 5 years, zero interest financing, exclusively at Genesis Diamonds. Open this Sunday. Green Hills and Cool Springs. On approved credit. People here are raving about QC Kinetics and how regenerative medicine has changed their life. People like Helen, an avid mountain climber who got sidelined when an accident left her knees in constant pain.
I was not able to train or do really anything on my knee.
Helen was told surgery would be her only option, but then she found QC Kinetics and was treated with natural biologics designed to repair and restore tissue in her knees. 3 months later, she was climbing the highest mountain in North America.
I got a very quick resolution to my pain. I began treatment in March, and I summited Denali June the 7th. It was super successful, and I recommend everyone seek out QC Kinetics as an alternative to surgery.
Get your life back with lasting results. No surgery, no drugs, no downtime. Call QC Kinetics today.
Call QC Kinetics, 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024. 615-249-4024.
The official Monster Truck Series. Witness the world's best drivers competing in your favorite Monster Jam trucks, like Gravedigger, Megalodon, and more.
Who's ready for more racing?
Witness exciting head-to-head competition. Be part of the action.
Let's hear it. Make some noise.
Tickets on sale now. Coming to Nissan Stadium this Saturday. Brought to you by BKT Tires. Visit monsterjam.com for event details. Lock in your seats today.
Thanks, everyone, for baking your way here on this toasty morning. Are you all ready to jam? Excellent. Before we get rolling, let's start by hashing out everything bagel will be discussing. Profit margins are okay, but they could maybe be butter. Sorry, I don't mean to waffle. Next quarter, it's all or muffin. Did you have a question, Sausage Patty?
My name's Patricia.
When you can't take your mind off breakfast, it matters where you stay. Delicious breakfast available at our Hilton family of brands. Hilton, for the stay.
Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN.
Welcome into the DDC.
Stone Company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have two choices to hear our great sports programming.
Get the extra point, no problem.
And the Nashville Predators.
He scores!
Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
What's happening in Nashville? This is Scott Van Pelt. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Jeremy, we're still waiting from the NFL to hear from them to determine what, if any, potential discipline that Watson will face. What are you hearing about a timeline for when we may know how this news today impacts it?
Well, this is an important step for Watson in the NFL where it could make things a little easier that the league doesn't have to worry about or account for new findings in the case coming up or to have to sort of recalibrate whatever discipline they want to hand down. But I'm told as far as the timeline, the NFL is sticking to their same process. They were hoping to wrap this up sometime between now and training camp in late July. That is still in play here. They were willing to come to that conclusion regardless of the civil cases dragging on because they've been doing this for about 18 months. They feel pretty good about their findings. Now, from Watson's side, this is a bit of a change of tone where even as late as last week, he was saying he was going to clear his name. Attorney Rusty Hardin had told me in the past that any settlements that Watson would want those to be public in the amounts of money. And it seems like now it's going to be confidential, according to attorney Tony Busby, who's representing the plaintiffs. So that is a bit of a change. Maybe the league will factor into that, and that could help Watson in the court of public opinion as well.
I'm trying not to laugh, but when I heard right there, I'm sorry. When I heard Jeremy Fowler right there just saying, Watson wanted them to be public because he wanted people to know the amounts of money, but apparently they won't. What?
Why would he want that?
What? What? This story never stops. Like, it never freaking stops. It's like, wow, 10 women. Wow. And then it's like, oh, here's 10 more. Wow. Then it's like, here's 4 more. Then it's like, wow. Then it's like, here's this Real Sports with Bryant Gumbel. Wow. Hey, the DA in Houston says no charges, or the grand jury, no charges. Wow.
And then
$230 million fully guaranteed contract. Wow. Then it's like, here's the New York Times article. Wow. Now there's going to be 2 more accusers. Wow.
Well, the New York Times article said that it was 66 women and that 24 of them just decided to come forward.
No. 15 of those were in his favor. So 15 of the 66 were had written affidavits saying that he got a regular massage and it wasn't the...
But there were still 66 of them. Whether it's positive or negative, why do you need 66 massage therapists?
So he was asked that question last week at minicamp, and he said that you'd have to talk to his attorneys about that.
It's a secret.
It's a secret.
Yeah, his attorney,
Dr.
his attorneys are unavailable.
Oh, if he played for the Titans, I got to talk to Vrabel about that, man. I tell you what, man.
Asthma.
So here's my thing. When this came down today, I think the NFL, and I heard Tim Hasselbeck say this on the midday show, and I don't think Tim's wrong. I think the NFL went to Deshaun and say, hey, we can't not throw the freaking avalanche at you if you do not get these cases settled. Mm-hmm. Because the last thing that we want to do is suspend you and then all of a sudden next offseason have to go through the same thing over and over and over when the 24 cases actually go to trial and it's hands-on Bibles and it's text messages and emails and we're calling this guy from the Texans to get up to the witness stand, and that's one trial. And then we have 23 more after that. The NFL, what are they supposed to do? There was no way around it. So I think the NFL, in no uncertain terms, say, hey, man, well, let's get these things settled. Now, here's my problem with all this. The other 4 don't just go away.
No.
And so either, and I would, not that it affects a whole lot. Well, it probably does. I'd like to know how much money they settle for because I'm going to guess it wasn't cheap.
It was a pretty penny, I'm sure.
But at the same time, like the
But it's also not like Deshaun Watson's strapped for cash.
Well, we heard, the Colin Kaepernick collusion case got settled, and we heard this is a win for Kaepernick from some people, and we heard that he really didn't get anything out of the NFL because he didn't really have a case from other people, and I'm in the middle of, I have no idea what he settled for, so I have no idea who, quote-unquote won, and that's why people settle. But maybe these 4 women aren't planning to settle. I know the whole old saying, everybody has their price. Mm-hmm. Maybe these 4 women honestly want to go, and I'm just throwing this out there, maybe they just want to go to court so that they can have their say for the record so that everybody will see what they think and see the text messages and see the testimony.
Which is their right.
And I hate to say it, but doesn't that make the settling with the 20 not as big of a deal because there's still 4 out there?
And that's what begs the question is, what does the NFL need? Do they need all 24 to be settled cases? Is it, 20 out of 24 is good enough for us and we can, go forward with what we feel like is a fair suspension? Or is the NFL going to say not until all 24 cases are settled and all 24 women have reached an agreement with you, will you play a single down of football in the NFL? I don't know, but I think that's a fair question to ask is what does the NFL need from these cases to move forward?
Well, the difference is we don't know what the NFL knows.
That's also true.
I think that, last week Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk, reported that inside the league office, they don't know what to do. That there is...
I don't blame them.
Everybody is conflicted. I mean, look.
I wouldn't know what to do either.
On one hand, there were no charges. On one hand, in 2 separate...
Criminally, at least.
In 2 separate courts, there were no charges.
Well, not completely.
No charges were brought.
But there's still 4 women who haven't settled.
But they're not going to bring, you can't bring a criminal, they're not bringing criminal.
No, I know, it's a civil case,
But
yes.
again, 2 separate counties have said no charges. So that's at least one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's the reporting, which is pretty heinous. Then there's the 24 women, which I thought it was 26. which weren't there 2 more that were going to come out after the Ginny Ventris article?
I don't know.
And
I can't
so,
keep track.
but again, my thing is, if I'm the
Which I
NFL,
hate.
because supposedly, the Browns were floating out there that they were very upset because they had asked Watson, is this it, before they did the deal with him, and Watson said this is it, and then more women came forward, and so they felt like Watson had lied to them, which I'm not sure, even though they say they did their due diligence, I'm not sure how much actual due diligence they did. But if I'm the NFL, I think I'm telling him, like, hey, man, you got to get those other 4 settled. And if those other 4 don't want to settle, I don't know what the NFL does. If he gets them all settled, then what will happen is it'll be a year suspension. He will not play football this year. I will be, beside myself if he plays football. By the way, did you see, so they, after Ezekiel Elliott, after Deflategate, they amended in the CBA the discipline process for how this goes down. Because before it used to be, Troy Vincent would suggest it to Goodell, and then Goodell would decide whatever it was.
Yeah.
And so they didn't like the idea of Goodell being the arbiter, no matter what. So what it does is there's, I forget what the woman's name is who's in charge of this, but she is in charge. And if she finds wrongdoing, and she was put in charge by the NFL and the NFLPA, and if she finds wrongdoing, if she finds no wrongdoing, then Goodell can't do anything. If she finds wrongdoing, then she can put a punishment, and then Roger Goodell has the right to either add to it or subtract from it. So basically, Roger Goodell
really
gets to
make
make
any sense.
No, basically, it's a long-winded way of saying, Roger Goodell gets to pick.
He gets final say.
In the end, we're
Veto
making
power.
it look like we're changing a little bit. But I just don't. If you want, think about it like this: he just settled 20 sexual assault civil cases. 20. And next summer, he's still looking at 4 cases that he's got to go through. And so until he gets these 4 settled, and I don't know anything about the 4 women, they may not want to settle.
And also, I think the 4 cases sound so minuscule, minuscule and
as compared to
related
24.
to 24. But 4 cases of sexual assault, that's a lot on its own. So I think a lot of people are looking at like, 20 are already settled. So, what's another 4? No, 4's a lot. It's just, this is just on such a massive scale that 4 seems like nothing.
So add this in there. We'll get to your phones next. 615-737-1025. I don't know what the NFL's going to do here. This is one of those ones where I really am glad that I'm not making the call on this. Because I want to, you know me, I want to throw the book at him. But
when you're actually in that position, you're faced with a really difficult dilemma.
I cannot handle that Jeremy Fowler report. Where it's like, the NFL feels pretty good about what they have. That's not what Florio's saying. Florio's saying there is divide in the league office. And here's another thing about these cases. They're worried about what's going to come out of these cases. Because you suspend him for a year, then they have these cases. And let's say that the 24, things, let's say they went to trial. And it just more bad stuff came out, more text messages. What are you going to do then? And I think that's their big fear. That's why it's like, get these things settled.
Right.
615-737-1025 is the phone number. Hey, this Thursday, 1025, the game will be out at Nissan Stadium in the South Plaza from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. as Monster Jam is set to announce something big. Also, Monster Jam is partnered with Second Harvest Food Bank and is hosting a community food drive to support Nashville families facing hunger. For every 5 non-perishable items donated, fans will receive 1 complimentary ticket to this Saturday's Monster Jam event, June 25th. Tickets are available for the first 250 donations on site while supplies last. Limit 4 complimentary vouchers per family or household. For more information, visit monsterjam.com.
Every Wednesday at 5, join us for Jared versus Joe as they debate all of the big topics in sports, presented by Parman Tractor and Equipment and Mayweather Boxing and Fitness on ESPN 1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From Fox 17 News, this is a Code Red Weather Alert.
I'm Fox 17 Code Red meteorologist Greg Bobus. High temperatures today, upper 90s near 100 degrees. Low humidity but plenty of sunshine. An extreme UV index for today. Keep the sunscreen going. No rain until the weekend.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
What makes AutoZone America's #1 battery destination? Because they offer free battery testing and charging and reliable replacement batteries. And they've always got your battery solution. Get in the zone, AutoZone.
At the law office of Amanda J. Gentry, we are committed to defending your rights. Being arrested doesn't have to be the worst day of your life. Being served with custody paperwork doesn't have to be the worst day of your life. It may feel that way, but if you have Amanda J. Gentry representing you, you can feel confident that you're going to have the best quality representation in all of Middle Tennessee. Amanda J. Gentry goes wherever justice demands. 615-604-6263. AmandaJGentry.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
As in all human conflict, adults fight and children suffer. Today, 7.5 million children in Ukraine need to find water and shelter. They need safety in school. They need a place to sleep and comfort in the dark. Show them the world cares. Support UNICEF on the ground in Ukraine. We won't stop until every child is safe. UNICEFUSA.org/action.
Robbie Stanley.
To avoid non-contact injuries and not repeat last year.
Joe Rexroad.
Just wait until next year's national TV schedule comes out.
Robbie and Rexroad. Mornings from 6 to 10 on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Sounds like this has been a game-changing day for all of us.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
What do you make of this story? I don't think anybody's surprised, right? Because there's no way they were going to let this go to court and get out there. So what do you make of all this?
Yeah, well, I think that we're always headed towards a settlement. You have to wonder if, the NFL at some point was like, look, because Deshaun, I would think at some point too, is wondering like, all right, like, what are you guys going to do with me? Like the cloud hanging over the suspension and what that may be like, it's got to be significant for him. And so you almost wonder if, they went to the league wondering kind of what the league situation was, and the league was like, look, until you kind of settle some of these things, we're not going to be able to come down with suspension or no suspension or whatever, because, what you guys talked about with me a couple weeks ago, in that, I think the league has been a little bit apprehensive to make a ruling and then have like 5 more women coming out with accusations. So I think they want some of it wrapped up prior to, a suspension being levied.
That was Tim Hasselbeck on DDC, where he joins every week. I don't think they want some of this wrapped up before they levy a suspension. I think they want it all wrapped up before. But it doesn't look like they'll be able to, because it's only 20 of 24.
And understandably so. I wouldn't want to make a decision about something and then more information come out.
Would it be irresponsible to ask, what do you think each settlement cost? Do you think each settlement was over or under $1 million?
Over.
Ian?
Under.
I think I have to go with under 2.
Why?
Well, I look at this. I think Watson.
Do you think they all were the same?
Watson has made about $80 million since this all started. $40 million plus last year, $40 million plus with the Browns on the signing bonus or whatever. So if you got $80 million to play with, now the attorneys are getting, a just
top dollar
bucket when it comes to all of this. And then the other stuff I'm sure he's had to pay for, going through this process. If we're working with $80 million over the last 2 years, honestly, 20 women, 80, they each could have gotten $4 million.
Yeah.
So $1 million is not crazy.
I don't think it's that crazy. For a case that's this high profile.
And remember what Jeremy Fowler reported today? He wants people to know how much these women got, but he can't.
If he wants people to know, then it's probably pretty high.
He doesn't want people to know. No, he would want you to know that it was low.
Because it wasn't a big deal?
Right, because if you settled and paid $10 million, then it looks like you're probably guilty.
Uh-huh.
Now, if you settled and you paid, $200,000,
then
it's not really
nothing.
all that money. But again, this was before he actually settled, that he told people, if I settle, I want people to know. Well, now it's NDA, no talking, no nothing, confidential. Let's go to your phones on it. 615-737-1025. Phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
Brandy texts in and says he needs to go through all of his cases before he can play. We need to teach kids that just because you're good doesn't mean you can do whatever you want.
Here's the problem, though, is that I wondered, and I actually wondered this the whole time. I wondered if 24 women are suing you civilly. If it was one person, that's one. You just have to get that one person to settle with you, and then it's over. But are all 24 women going to want to do this without their day in court? And I think after reading the Ginny Ventures article in the New York Times, I got the feeling that some of these women wanted to prove a point.
And out of 24 women, don't you think at least one of them wants something a little bit more than a settlement in court?
Well, a settlement out of court.
A settlement out of court.
That they want their day in court.
Yes.
They want the evidence to prove. It's like Ron Goldman's parents ended up making, I think, $33 million off of OJ. Like that ended up being when OJ was found civilly liable for the death of Ron Goldman, that I think he owed the Goldman family $30 million or something like that. So the book he wrote, the If I Did It, they owned that book. And so what they did was they hid the if on the cover. So the cover now just says I did it, but you have to find the if. But they own the rights to that book, which is pretty crazy, right? Like they own the book. They own the rights to the book in which O.J. Simpson says, if I murdered their kid, this is how I did it.
I don't really like that.
No, but that's reality. But more so than anything, the Goldmans just wanted a guilty verdict after they had the not guilty verdict in the criminal trial in L.A. County. They wanted the guilty verdict to say, see, O.J. Simpson did this. He killed our son. And
your closure.
I do wonder if one of these four women or four of these four women or two or three of these four women are saying, no, I want Deshaun Watson to be found guilty. And if that happens, then where does the NFL go? What I probably feel is that Watson probably got pressured in order to settle these cases, and he tried to settle 24 of them, and only 20 would settle. And then he's left with the 4. And then the question has to be asked, how does the NFL feel about the 4? That's the real question. Let's pick this up on the other side, because I know you got more of your phones, so I want to get to them. 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025, but we went long in the last segment. So we'll get to your phones again on this, and this is the question I want to ask. Does it make a difference that he settled 20 of the 24? It would absolutely have made a difference if he settled 24 of the 24. Does it make a difference if he settled 20 out of the 24? What do you think? Plus, Gronk retired, so we'll get our thoughts in on that and to your phones. Stillman and Company. Tomorrow we'll be at the Sounds, so be sure to join us because the Sounds return tonight to First Horizon Park for a 6-game series against the Gwinnett Stripers, the AAA affiliate of the Atlanta Braves. Catch all the action tonight on 94.9 The Fan at 7 o'clock. Sounds Baseball on 94.9 The Fan is presented by 312 Pizza and Farm Bureau Health Plans.
You watch the game.
And he's going. Nobody's going to catch him. Derrick Henry, touchdown.
We talk the game.
I don't think it was a bad play, but he took out their goalie.
We are the game. Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Hi guys, it's Andrew with Hillside Medical Clinic.
Is erectile dysfunction damaging your relationship? Are you sick of the pill and all the side effects? Well, welcome to the future. We have a major medical breakthrough. Hillside Medical Clinic uses the most advanced form of wave therapy. Backed by 60 clinical studies, our technology uses pressure waves to repair and open up blood vessels. We've helped countless men get rid of their ED. But what is the true end result? Their relationship, even their lives, improve drastically. If you're ready to regain your love life, call us right now, and not only will the assessment and ultrasound be free, we'll also give you a gift that produces immediate results in the bedroom. It almost never fails. This is worth $550, and it's free to callers right now. 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and experience what I call the happiness ripple effect. Call Hillside Medical Clinic now, 615-576-5000.
Hey, Willie Donick here. Are you feeling the sting of higher interest rates and higher costs? Those credit cards and other loans are costing more and more every month, and inflation is making everything else more expensive. Your home can save you right now. Your home's value is up, and there's a ton of cash in it, and you can access it with Loan Pronto. They specialize in zero-cost cash-out home refis. Get tens of thousands in as little as 2 weeks. And yes, VA loans are eligible. With a VA loan, you can access up to 100% of your home's value. So pay off high-rate credit cards and other loans. Consolidate everything into one super low payment. People who do this usually cut about $800 or more from their monthly budget. So if your home mortgage rate goes up a point or so, it's offset by your credit card rate going to zero. So call Loan Pronto and unlock that equity and wipe out the bad debt. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
312 Pizza Company is Nashville's authentic Chicago pizzeria, and they're now hiring. Work for a family-owned business and be a part of their incredible team. 312 Pizza Company is hiring for all positions, including host, waitstaff, bartenders, cooks, and more. 312 Pizza Company offers health insurance and paid time off to full-time employees. Contact Kimberly at 615-730-7888 or email at contact@312pizzaco.com. 312 is an equal opportunity employer.
7.5 million children in Ukraine need to find water and shelter. They need a place to sleep and comfort in the dark. Show them the world cares. Support UNICEF, unicefusa.org/action.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Robbie and Rex Road to DDC.
Stillman Company. Nashville's best sports talk. ESPN 102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
The leading receiver.
Awesome game 7.
Checker flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Where you have a voice.
We're one play away from an injury.
He knows this. He's a study of the game. And we have strong opinions.
He's been awful. I don't think they were trying, and that's why I feel the way I feel.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman and Caroline Fenton. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman & Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, ESPN 102.5. The Game streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry, live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. So the big news today in the NFL, Deshaun Watson has settled with 20 of his 24 accusers. Now, I think the question has to be asked, does Watson need to settle the other 4 cases in order to play? I think the NFL would strongly appreciate it if Deshaun Watson would do that. Now, I want to read you this from Pro Football Talk. Now, this is wild. I just got this sent to me. So, apparently, and this is Florio, so he's a lawyer. Florio writes this, that it is, oh, God, this freaking NBC website drives me
It's
nuts.
bad. All the pop-up ads are so annoying.
Oh, well, I have this pop-up thing that keeps them from coming up, and so then when I do that, it's like, hey, try to support our whatever. All right, so here you go. So basically, according to Florio, what happens with the remaining 4 cases? It's possible that, and I can't move the thing. Basically, all right, I'll just read it. What happens with the 4 remaining cases? It's possible that Watson needs to simply offer more than the amounts paid to the other 20 who are already settling. A mediation session with Watson, the 4 remaining plaintiffs, and their lawyers could potentially get it done. If that fails, Watson has another option available to him under Texas law. Florio writes, it resides in Rule 167 of the Texas Rules of Civil Procedure. Watson can make an offer of settlement to each of the remaining 4 plaintiffs. So let's say $2 million, $2 million, $2 million, $2 million.
Mm-hmm.
He can make an offer of settlement to each of the remaining 4 plaintiffs. In a nutshell, Florio writes, his lawyers would calculate the all-in number that covers the actual settlement of the claim, attorney's fees, costs, and interest. So all the money, Watson, here's what it all costs, one big old fat check. If not accepted, and if the plaintiff ultimately recovers less than 80% of the amount of the offer through the trial process, the plaintiff would then become responsible for all litigation costs incurred by Watson from the time the offer was rejected. Now,
having a really hard time trying to follow this.
Okay, so what I think this means, and I am not a lawyer, but what I think this means is Watson's attorneys can basically make an all-in cost and say, okay, if we go through the trial and everything happens, here's how much this is going to cost.
Okay.
So then it's $2 million that I'm offering plus, another $4 million in attorney's fees, and this is the all-in cost of $6 million. So I was originally offering $2 million, but now it's $6 million or whatever. That's what the total is going to be. You reject the offer. If you don't get 80% of $2 million, so if the jury comes back and says not guilty, or the jury comes back and says we award you $1.4 million, or if it's not 80% of the offer. Now, if they come back and they say, hey, he owes you $15 million, then I think Deshaun loses.
Right.
But if it's less than that, then the person who rejected the offer, according to this Texas law, then has to pay for all of Deshaun Watson's attorney fees.
Wow. Okay.
Now,
got it.
Now, according to this, although a provision added to Rule 167 in 2011 makes it impossible for the plaintiff to experience a net loss, the plaintiff could still lose the full amount of the verdict if it lands, plus fees, costs, and interest, less than 80% of the amount of the offer. Basically, Florio writes, an offer judgment would give each plaintiff something to think about. It would put a recovery at risk of being significantly limited and potentially wiped out. It would give a plaintiff who otherwise has nothing to lose something to lose. In this case, an offer of judgment could be the thing that finally delivers settlements of the remaining 4 cases. So that's what Florio said. So again, to put this to you, this random Texas law that probably nobody outside of Texas divorces has probably heard of, Deshaun Watson could come up with an all-in number. There would be the cost of attorney's fees and everything else and a settlement, offer it, and if the jury does not come back at 80% of what Watson was offering in the settlement, then the plaintiff has to pay the attorney fees for Deshaun Watson. But, again, to Florio's point, the amendment to that rule would mean that they can't come out negative. So it can't be, they return, Deshaun offered $2 million, the jury comes back at $1 million, Deshaun's legal fees are $5 million, so now you owe $4 million. It's not that.
Okay.
It just would wipe out the $1 million that the jury says that you win.
That's a lot.
It sounds like a pretty big threat.
It does.
It sounds like that may be what ultimately gets this done. The key to this is that Deshaun has to offer so much money to the 4 women that there's not a chance that the jury will return over 80% of what's being offered. So that's another little item to play in this. This almost kind of feels like an NFL negotiation, and I don't know if the 4 women that are refusing to settle are refusing to settle because they want their day in court, or if they're refusing to settle because they want more money. But this is almost like an NFL contract where whoever gets paid first is going to get the least amount. Whoever gets paid last is probably going to get the most amount.
And that was my question to you off air, which really does make it kind of sound like a negotiation, is that if one or any of these remaining 4 women, do they have a certain price where they're willing to settle out of court? Because I have to think that maybe there is one of those women who is holding out for her day in court, that she wants to make her voice heard, that she has evidence to bring to the table.
Sure.
But, she's willing to step back for $25 million.
Well, it's the same as this golf league, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. I mean, there's a certain paycheck, there's a certain dollar amount that you just can't say no to. If Deshaun Watson is offering you $100 million to settle out of court, are you going to put your morals ahead of money? Maybe you are. Maybe you're not. And that's your decision to make.
But then the onus is on Watson to offer so much money that they literally cannot
that they can't say
think
no.
that a jury would come back at less than or that more than 80% of that.
Right.
So just a little caveat thrown in there. I did promise your phones. 615-737-1025. Do you think the other 4 cases get settled before the league comes down with punishment?
See, I think this is difficult because the league is looking at a deadline here. But let's say these 4 cases don't get settled and the NFL comes forward with a punishment. Let's say it's a year. That almost sends a message or sets a precedent that if another NFL player in the future is accused by one woman of sexual assault, well, it wasn't 4. Deshaun Watson was almost off the hook per punishment because of 4 remaining cases. So it almost sets the precedent that if it's fewer than 4 women who are accusing you of sexual assault, then you can move forward without a punishment. It's essentially the message.
Let's go to your phones. Phone line driven by WilsonCountyHonda.com, 615-737-1025. What do we have?
Ron texts in and says the NFL should suspend him for a year with the potential for more. There are just too many women accusing him, and either way it makes him and the NFL look bad.
Well, now there's only 4 women accusing him, which is still bad. But now there's only 4. I do wonder, what does the difference between 24 and 4 mean? I'd say it means a lot. But the thing that's tough about this for the NFL...
But that's a tough message for the NFL to put out there.
The tough thing about this for the NFL is, it's obvious that the guy is a predator. It's obvious. And so, what do you do?
But in court, he's innocent.
But if we have a civil trial, all that stuff that the grand jury heard that we don't know anything about now becomes public.
Mm-hmm.
Hands go on Bibles. He has to testify. You don't get to not testify. This is not a criminal trial where he doesn't have to testify. He has to testify, I believe, in a civil trial. So unless Texas has some, kooky rule I don't know about, which Texas seems to be just chock full of kooky rules I don't know about. But, he probably has to testify. Now he can, plead his Fifth Amendment rights, but he still has to get up there. He's already been deposed, and his deposition was incredibly uncomfortable. And then you add that to the fact that, his press conferences have just been so awkward and just so awful. I don't know what the NFL does here. I really don't know. The Zeke thing was 6 games, right?
Mm-hmm.
There were no charges.
Correct.
And I believe, and I don't want to get this wrong, I think his accuser either recanted or something. And he still got 6 games. This is 24. And with the Zeke thing, correct me if I'm wrong, I didn't read any New York Times story about what Ezekiel Elliott did or didn't do.
No.
So, and he still got 6 games. So some people are like, well, it's 6 games because Zeke got 6, so it's 6. And I'm like...
But does the number of accusers not matter?
Well, is that then 24 times 6? 66 times 6? Then again, 15 of those 66 gave positive reviews about their massage experience with Deshaun Watson. You realize if you're incredibly rich, and I'm not just saying like regular rich, I'm talking about incredibly rich, over a 17-month period, you probably don't have 66 people valet your car.
No.
And this is people that gave him a massage.
Massage therapists.
It's so grimy.
Sketchy. It's so
grimy.
sketchy.
It's just so...
6 is a lot, much less 66. Like, there's obviously foul play going down here.
But this is the position that Deshaun Watson got himself into, and this is the position that Roger Goodell put himself Henry and all those guys, and this is where he finds himself now is, holy crap, what do you do here? More of your phones on it, 615-737-1025. Plus Gronk has officially retired from the NFL. I am stunned by that and kind of saddened. We'll get your thoughts in on that as well. 615-737-1025, Stillman and Company. It's ESPN 1025 The Game.
Let's put the green flag in the air and turn them loose.
Nashville's home for NASCAR.
He's going to try to make a big move here.
Is brought to you by the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. We are your racing station.
ESPN
1025 and 1063 The Game. And the Game Nashville app.
Staples has everything you need for school at prices that won't hold you back. Don't send your kids back to school, send them forward at Staples, the working and learning store.
Celebrate July 4th with huge deals from Electronic Express. Save big on summer necessities from brands like Charbroil, Yeti, Samsung, GE, Sony, and more. Electronic Express has huge savings in every department. Computers, appliances, 4K TVs, smart home, furniture, and more. Save up to 40% on all appliances with up to 36 months free financing. Shop in-store or online at electronicexpress.com and get free express delivery on most items. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Upgrade her diamond ring this summer with no money down and 0 interest for 5 years. Yes! This killer offer has been extended through July 2nd. Our most aggressive offer of the year continues, but won't be extended again. It's not just on engagement rings. It's earrings, bracelets, bands, colored gemstone jewelry. Buy now, pay nothing down, and spread your payments over 5 years with 0 interest. So that $5,000 eternity band comes out to just $85 a month. One-of-a-kind designer jewelry is also included in this amazing offer. Now through July 2nd at Genesis Diamonds. Open this Sunday. Green Hills and Cool Springs. Approved credit.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway. Now here's Jim Mitchell.
At Mitchell's Mr. Transmission, we also offer free towing with any major repairs. If your vehicle has a breakdown and you should need any type towing, towing is available through Dad's Towing Service. Dad's is a professional towing company in Nashville that provides all types towing and recovery, 24 hours a day.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
7.5 million children in Ukraine need to find water and shelter. They need a place to sleep and comfort in the dark. Show them the world cares. Support UNICEF, unicefusa.org/action.
It's on, it's happening. Remember, you can watch us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter.
Get out of the way, I'm watching the game.
Presented by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
On ESPN 1025 and 1063 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Number 12 overall pick in the draft. Here they come after Brady. Throws, caught! Gronkowski to the end zone. Touchdown Tampa Bay.
Were you stunned today when the news came down? Jordan Schultz reported this, that Rob Gronkowski is officially retired from the NFL.
I was stunned, and my first thought was, he's not actually retiring. We've been through this song and dance before. He's not actually retiring.
Do you feel that way?
I do.
I don't. I
think this is it?
Oh, I think it's it.
Why now? Why is this time different than the other 2 times?
Well, the other one time was because...
Was it only once?
Yeah, he hated Belichick. He was done playing for Belichick. He was done doing things Belichick's way. He was done the rigid schedules. He was done with that. I mean, if you watch the Brady documentary, he basically talks about how he got suspended for a game because he went nuts and almost, broke Tre'Davious White's neck. And he got suspended for that. And he was like, honestly, it was a game check, and I was okay with it. Gronk said on Instagram, quote, In college, I was asked to write about a dream job opportunity that I wanted to pursue and where the location would be. Every time I had to write about my future, no matter what, I picked being a professional football player. For that assignment, we had to pick the location, so I wrote that I wanted to play in Tampa for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for many reasons, the sunny weather being number one. I completely forgot about writing this report until 2 years ago when I had the opportunity to join the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And let me tell you, the journey in Tampa over the last 2 years has blown away what I originally wrote about in college, big time. And for this, I want to thank the whole entire first-class Buccaneers organization for an amazing ride, trusting me to come back and play and help build a championship team. I will now be going back into my retirement home, walking away from football again with my head held high, knowing I gave it everything I had, good or bad, every time I stepped out on the field. The friendships and relationships I have made will last forever, and I appreciate every single one of my teammates and coaches for giving everything they had as well. From retirement back to football and winning another championship, and now back to chilling out, thank you to all. Buccaneers fans, the crew, without you, none of this is possible. All of y'all brought it every game. Thank you for all you do. Cheers to what's next, maybe sailing the seas. And then he had a little pirate flag. I believe Gronk's done. And I also think the timing of it is interesting.
The timing is questionable.
Well, here's where the timing is. This is why I think it's for real, for real. First of all, I don't think Gronk was playing for any other quarterback than Tom Brady.
No.
I think when the season ended, Gronk wasn't sure what he was going to do.
I think he was waiting for Tom Brady to make his decision.
I'm not convinced of that either, because Chad Withrow reported that there was some mutual interest between the Titans and Gronk, and I believe that. And so I think Gronk was kind of open to let's see what's out there, and let's see what's next. And he worked out in Dallas with Derrick Henry at the, where Derrick Henry goes out there and bench presses F-150s. He was out there working out during the spring with Derrick Henry. So you knew that Gronk was still in shape. And there was the video when Brady unretired and he was leaving a Tampa barbershop and he was joking about how he was going to make Brady sweat it out since Brady made him sweat it out. I think ultimately Gronk's been through a lot of pain over the years. Floyd told me that he told Bill Belichick, don't draft Rob Gronkowski because the back injury was such a question mark. And not surprisingly, it was John Robinson, the drafter of all things injured players, who was pushing for Bill Belichick, supposedly, to draft Rob Gronkowski. But I say this because I think Gronk, a lot of times with players when the season's over, they feel like they know what they want to do. And they go to the team, and they're just worn out, and they're just exhausted, and they're just tired, and they're like, I think I've had enough. And oftentimes, the teams will tell the player, hey, give it a little bit, take some time, see what happens, go from there. Brady told Dan Patrick last week that he went to Bruce Arians and to Jason Light, and he told them after the season that he thought he was done. And they were like, hey, take some time. We've always got a spot for you. Don't worry about it. One way or another, door's always open. And Bruce Arians publicly said that. And then there was, him visiting the owners and that he didn't want to play for Arians. And then I think the compromise was, instead of us letting you go to the Dolphins, I don't think Brady ever wanted to retire. I think Brady wanted to go to the Dolphins, own part of the team, and Sean Payton was going to coach. And then the Brian Flores lawsuit ruined all of that. And I think the Glazers, the owner of the Buccaneers, they weren't going to let that happen anyways. That's when he ended up in London, and then all of a sudden, next thing you know, he's unretiring on Instagram. I think with Gronk, I think it was like man, I really don't want to play anymore. Take some time. I'll take some time. Take some time. Gets past the mini camp. And then it's like, all right, do you want to play? No. And at that point, I think that's where Gronk was like, I'm done. And maybe he'll miss it when the season starts. I mean, the way that it was told to me, and I forget where I heard this, but Gronk was done. His body was just beaten. He was over it. I mean, he was hurt every single season with the Patriots. I mean, look at the gear he had to wear on the field. I mean, the shoulder braces and the elbow braces. And I mean, he looked like Barry Bonds every time he'd catch a pass with all the padding and stuff that was on his body. And so he was done after New England. And New England, as we all know, there's a certain way you have to do things in New England, and the fun is in the winning in New England. The fun is not in the showing up to work every day. Now, Arians was all about the fun, which Brady liked the first year, and then he didn't like the second year. I'm sure Gronk liked the fun. But Gronk didn't like the no fun with Belichick. And so Gronk retired, and Brady played that last year, and they lost to the Titans, and then Brady went to Tampa Bay, and supposedly Brady called Kevin Durant during COVID. Brady's in New York with Giselle because that's where Bridget Moynihan lives, and that's where their kid is. So Brady's in New York. He calls Kevin Durant, wondering if there's like a place that he could work out during COVID. Kevin Durant ends up hooking Brady up with the people who run the Barclays Center. So Brady is working out at the Barclays Center during the COVID shutdowns. So it's just Brady in the Barclays Center. He needed somebody to throw the ball to. Gronk was there. So Gronk was the guy he was throwing the ball to all during like the serious COVID shutdowns right after he picked the Buccaneers. And that kind of got Gronk's juices flowing a little bit, supposedly. And then they won a championship. I just think that Gronk looks at it like, I got nothing left to do. I'm hurt. I don't really want to do it anymore. I've made all the money. Gronk is incredibly cheap. He spends like no money on anything. All of the money that he spends is endorsement money. He's always saved his NFL money. Who knows what Gronk's going to do next? Maybe he'll live here. I don't know. It seems like the perfect place for him.
Here.
But I get it. And I think this is for real. Now, John McClain tweeted out about Gronk in the Hall of Fame and said that if Gronk, this is, again, John McClain, and I love John McClain, but he tweeted out that if Gronk decides to unretire, that if Gronk keeps coming back, I'll be on the other side of the grass before he's eligible for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So basically that's John McClain saying, hey, this better be for real. But the truth is, I mean, Gronk is absolutely a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Oh, absolutely.
And so
he has,
he's
what, 4 Super Bowls?
Yep. One of them, I mean, he was hurt, but he was still on the team.
But he has a ring.
Yeah. So he was still technically on the team. And I think that was the Atlanta one. So he was hurt for the Atlanta Super Bowl. And then the other 2, he was there and made massive plays in that they won. And then he had a massive game against Kansas City in the Super Bowl that they won there. And he had a massive game in that finale against the Rams. And this is a big loss for the Buccaneers. 615-737-1025. Phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com. What else do we have?
One texter texts in and says, I just cannot possibly imagine an NFL where Gronk is not involved.
I'll say this. I mean, first of all, we've already had a season where Gronk didn't play. So he missed the whole 2019 season. He retired and was not coming back and was out and everything else. Gronk is an incredibly likable guy.
Oh, my gosh, yes. He's such a goofball. He never takes himself too seriously. He's fun to listen to.
So I think Brady said it best when he was talking about him one time, where he said there's something about Gronk where his way of complaining makes you laugh. And I think the example of it was Gronk didn't have a touchdown when they started last 2020 in Tampa. Gronk didn't catch a touchdown until like week 10. And Gronk was talking in this documentary about how I didn't have a touchdown until week 10. Like, that was weird. And Gronk caught a touchdown. They showed him on the sidelines like, I finally got one. Like, he was jumping up and down. And he was all excited about it. And it was almost funny that instead of like complaining that he didn't have any touchdowns, Gronk just made a big deal about it after he scored a touchdown and ended up getting it. So, I mean, Floyd told me a story. I don't know how true this is. But then again, Floyd doesn't really lie. I think sometimes just he was a little up there in age, so maybe he would not completely remember every detail. I guess he was sent out to Arizona to scout Gronk or meet with Gronk or something. I don't know what the rules are. I don't know what he was allowed to do. I don't know what Belichick told him to do. Don't get mad at me, Bill. But apparently he went out to Arizona. And maybe it was to scout him. I don't know. Gronk lived in a house across the street from the football stadium. Like literally, supposedly across the street.
Of course he
Like
did.
you open the door and you know, like when you open the door to my house, there's another house,
Yes.
right? Okay, you open the door to Gronk's house and there's the football stadium. And apparently they had a hot tub in the front yard. And Gronk invited Floyd to the house and asked him if he wanted to go in the hot tub.
Well, also, how many times would you really need to use a hot tub in Arizona?
Yeah, maybe it was like a cooling tub. I don't know.
Like, Tucson's hot now.
I do know that Gronk invited Floyd, 60-year-old, I guess, probably 60-year-old Floyd Reese. Gronk freaking Super Bowl general manager who had been on ESPN, Rob Gronkowski, invited him into the house.
And any other
and asked him if he
NFL
wanted to go.
Any
He's
other
an old
NFL
guy.
hopeful would probably, be
Oh,
nervous.
yes, sir.
And
No,
I'm wearing
sir.
a
Oh,
suit
yes.
and-
Yeah. It's an honor to meet you, Mr. Reed. It's a, yo, you want to get in the pool?
You want to crack some beers?
You want to
and
get in the
chill
hot tub?
tub?
Over there? Again, and look, I mean, some of those details, like if somebody's like, hey, I don't, that wasn't exactly how that went down, whatever. I don't know. That was just a story that was told to me. And I believe it because it all checks out. Because it's what it completely checks out. Gronk scored his 68th touchdown in his career. And he was at the podium and they asked him about, what does it mean to set the tight end record with 68 touchdowns? And he was like, 68. One more away from what? And laughed. And I remember telling Floyd that. I don't think that direct of bathroom humor is all that funny to me. I mean, sometimes
But when
it is.
he does it, it's just
he's just
funny.
so into it. So I told him he said it, and Floyd just chuckled like a freaking, it was, that was one thing. The other thing was news, too, before the Ravens game. Ran a Dean Pease interview talking about Lamar Jackson. And so it had his name, on the little thing where it had his name.
Yeah.
And then the little bottom subject line was on Lamar Jackson. And so I showed Floyd the picture, and he looked at it, and he's like, I go, read it real fast. This was during commercial break. I go, read it real fast. He goes, Dean Pease on Lamar. And so those were the two times. That and Gronk being like, oh, yeah, one away from 69. That kind of stuff. Trevor Maddich will join us next, ESPN college football analyst. There is this weird cockamamie ESPN ranking of college football teams over the next 3 years. Who is on it and who isn't on it is worth discussing. We will do that with Trev coming up next. Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. I love my friends at Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. They've been taking care of my home for years, and they can do the exact same for you. There is no better time to upgrade your essential home systems than this month with my friends at Hiller. Because until the end of June, Hiller is offering 0 interest for 60 months on select new HVAC systems, 0 interest for 12 months on new tankless water heaters, 0 interest for 12 months on new whole home generators. If you know you need a new system for your home, do it this month, and do it now because it's hot. And apparently it's only getting hotter. So just do it now. These financing offers are available for a limited time only to help you stay comfortable and cool all summer long and handle the payments later. Visit happyhiller.com for all the details. As always, happy you will be or the service is free. That is Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Proud supporters of the Preds, the Vols, and Vandy. Call the Happy Face Truck today.
If you're on the road between downtown Nashville,
They're still in good shape to make the playoffs.
and I-840,
Players make it clear they don't want to be somewhere anymore.
there's a new way to hear all your favorite shows and sports programming on 102.5 The Game.
I go back to that play and I shake my head. What I was worried about is that they were still just going to keep the goal.
It's 106.3 FM.
Think about all the good Titans teams. This is very much so a run-first offense.
Now you have two choices to hear Nashville's best sports talk. Check out 106.3 now and add it as a favorite.
Hey, it's Mike from Newton Ford South. I've got some good news and some bad news. The good news is we've been getting more and more new vehicles in stock every day. The bad news is they go out as quick as they come in, so be sure to reach out and let us know what you're looking for. And as soon as it comes in, we can call you. We can even order a new vehicle to your exact wants and needs. Don't worry, we have more good news. We have a great way for you to get some extra cash for all your summer adventures. We're buying any and all used cars. We're offering top dollar for your vehicle. Reach out. We can start with an online video appraisal. Even more good news. With Newton Fast Pass, you can buy a car without ever leaving the pool. Really? You can buy your car from anywhere. Wherever you are, you can buy online. And on top of that, we'll deliver the car to you. Build your car or buy your car online in Newton today. Visit NewtonFordSouth.com to learn more.
Where will you be for the Ally 400 at the Nashville Super Speedway? The Tootsie's Infield Club will be the coolest spot in the house before and during the race. With the shaded seating, cold drinks, and live music, it's just like Broadway at the Speedway. You'll be close to the bar, the bathroom, and all the action in Turn 4. How do you get in? Add a fan walk or pre-race track access pass to your Ally 400 ticket purchase, and we'll see you at the Tootsie's Infield Club.
If you snore, it may be a sign of a more serious, possibly life-threatening condition. Most people think of snoring as a nuisance, but it's a much more serious medical condition than you think. Snoring has been associated with chest pain, sleep apnea, high blood pressure, chronic pain, obesity, headaches, and sore throat. Take a listen to what some of our patients are saying about the revolutionary Vivo system.
Right after I started using it, I noticed the results really, especially with the snoring. My sleep apnea episodes are a fraction of what they were before. This product's phenomenal. It changed my life.
I am 100% happy that I did this, and I'm thankful every day that I had it.
If you're curious about our sleep devices, call now for a sleep consultation. Don't let your spouse have to sleep in the guest room, and don't risk the severe health complications of snoring and sleep apnea.
Dr. Kelly Rice is certified to provide the Vivo system to open the airway for a better night's sleep. Call 615-373-4488 or go to BrentwoodSleepApnea.com to see which therapy can work best for you.
Individual results may vary. Always seek the advice of your health provider with any questions regarding a medical condition.
Your home for Hit City is 94.9 The Fan.
Your Nashville Sounds return home to First Horizon Park to take on the Gwinnett Stripers. Swing and a miss, strike three. Sounds win. Coverage begins at 6:50.
On your home for Sounds baseball, 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
Hey Nashville, this is David Poyle. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
So there is a report out. I shouldn't use that word. That's an amateur word to use. Not the report I want to use. So there's a story at ESPN.com where Adam Rittenberg has ranked the top 25 teams over the next 3 seasons. Rittenberg writes at ESPN that the team rankings are different and examine the programs on a macro level for the 22, 23, and 24 NFL seasons. Factors such as coaching changes and stability, recent on-field and recruiting trajectory hold more value in this list. The increased importance of the transfer portal and even name, image, and likeness cannot be discounted when doing projections such as this one. So this is FPR, whatever that is. So anywho, so he's got for the next 3 seasons, Adam Rittenberg writes, these are the top 25 teams that he expects over the next 3 years. Number 1, you want to take a guess?
Bama.
Yes. Number 2, want to take a guess?
Ohio State?
No.
Is it in the SEC?
Yes.
Texas A&M?
Nope.
Ooh, Georgia.
Yes. Would you like to guess number 3?
Give me a conference.
You've already said it.
Ohio State.
Yes. Number 4.
Have I already said it?
Yeah.
A&M.
Yes.
Well, I'm good at this game.
So there you go. So then they got like Clemson's at 5. Not a surprise there. Notre Dame at 6. That's shocking because Notre Dame never wins crap.
Surprising.
So, but here's what got me. So I looked through this list, and it's it's your usual suspects: LSU and Oklahoma, and this one and that one and whatever. And then I'm waiting for Tennessee because Josh Heupel. I mean, he's supposed to be the man, right?
Supposedly.
Okay, so I'm going through this. I'm like looking for Tennessee. Where's Tennessee? Where I got Michigan State. I got Iowa. Florida is at 22. And I get to 25. Kentucky is 25. So Adam Rittenberg writes at ESPN, quote, "The final spot always sparks tough decisions. I could have recognized a group of 5 standouts such as San Diego State or UCF, or a team such as Texas, which has enough talent to quickly rise up these rankings. But Coach Mark Stoops and his staff have put together a solid program that is set up for future success. The Wildcats have won 10 games in 2 of the past 4 seasons and have only one non-winning season since 2015, and I believe that was 2020 where they only played SEC teams. They have made significant gains in recruiting as the 22 class featured 6 ESPN 300 players, and in the portal adding wide receiver Wandale Robinson and quarterback Will Levis, who returns this fall as a legitimate NFL draft prospect." So it goes on and on and on to say that Kentucky's doing a good job. No Tennessee, yes Kentucky. Trevor Maddich joins us now, ESPN college football analyst presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters. So Trev, I want to start with your thoughts on that. We can get to the top of this list or whatever, but I want to start with that. Kentucky in at number 25 on Adam Rittenberg's top 25 over the next 3 years. Tennessee, even with the name, image, and likeness money, even with Nico Amalavea or whatever his name is, the $8 million quarterback set to come in, they're out. Kentucky's in. What do you make of it?
It seems kind of inexplicable to me because I think Kentucky
has done really well over the last few years, but they have also benefited by building a team based on toughness, based on physicality over the course of several years, where the tough physical teams in the SEC East have taken a step back. Georgia, although Georgia's been back for a couple of years now, but then Florida, South Carolina took a step back after Spurrier left, et cetera. And Kentucky kind of rose up a little bit and got into that mix. Tennessee took a big step back. But they didn't seal the deal. Kentucky didn't. I mean, really, when it was Missouri that a few years ago was the one that stepped in and won the division a couple of times, and it wasn't Kentucky. And so I just wonder if Kentucky going forward, now that Georgia's fully back, now that Florida looks like it's got the right coach going forward, now that South Carolina is in a good place and Tennessee is in a good place, I don't know why they would put Kentucky in that spot for the next 3 years, because Kentucky is built to beat teams by being more physical, more tough. And I tell you, when Georgia's Georgia, Florida's Florida, Tennessee is Tennessee, assuming they come back, et cetera, those teams are all really tough to be beating when you're tough, more tough than they are. Tennessee, on the other hand, is being built in a different way. Tennessee is being built on a hyper-fast offense that is based on home run strikes to wide receivers running down the field. And early last season, in Coach Heupel's first year, they struggled to make those connections. But when they got their quarterback situation squared away and got some chemistry with some of the receivers, especially Cedric Tillman, all of a sudden they started setting all kinds of records on offense, and they're not nearly as good as they're going to be. You don't need to be more physical, more tough than the best in the SEC to have a chance to stay with them. If you've got the kind of up-tempo offense that you can get small, fast guys into space and let them run. And that's what Tennessee is building, and that's not necessarily what Kentucky is building or how they're based to be successful over the next couple of years. So you put all that together, and it seems to me that Kentucky's a bit of an odd choice for that spot.
Okay, here's what I want to do. I want to go around the room right now, and then I want your reaction to this. Over the next 5 years, which program will have more success, Tennessee or Kentucky, Caroline?
Tennessee.
Ian?
Tennessee.
I'm torn. I think I'm going to say Kentucky. Trevor, what do you think? Over the next 5 years, who will have more success between Tennessee or Kentucky?
Tennessee. Now, I love Mark Stoops. I respect what Kentucky has done. I think they will still be solid, but more success over the next 5 years. Tennessee has barely begun to scratch the surface, and I think they've got much more upside.
So I guess I'm outvoted here. I just know this. Every coach at Tennessee over the last handful of years, the first year, we're on our way. We're on our way. And then it's Butch Jones and Pruitt and Mark Stoops. Nobody pays attention to. Nobody watches their games. Nobody cares. Nobody. And every year they're winning 8 or 9 games. And at some point, they've done this with almost no quarterback play, and now apparently they've got one. They're doing something there, Trevor. I don't know exactly what it is, but he just keeps winning games, and Tennessee keeps promising me about tomorrow.
Yeah, great defense, strong offensive lines that put guys into the NFL, outstanding running back stables. And you're right, they haven't had that passer at quarterback. Now Will Levis has the potential, really, if he continues on his trajectory, to maybe be that guy. They lost Wan'Dale Robinson to the NFL, but they brought in another guy named Robinson to transfer from Virginia Tech. That looks like he'll be able to take over and look a lot like Wan'Dale did, and catching a ton of balls out of the slot. I mean, they're doing great things in Kentucky. And what people nationally tend to think that Kentucky is a basketball school that tags on a football team when it's not basketball season to give somebody something to complain about. But that's not the case. I mean, Kentucky fans love their football. The university has invested in football. They draw really well to their stadium. And so there's a lot of really good things about Kentucky. I'm not in any way denigrating Kentucky or Mark Stoops. I'm just looking at the way that they're built. And if you want to get past Kirby Smart and Nick Saban, et cetera, you're probably best off doing it by not trying to be more Kirby Smart and more Nick Saban than they are, but rather come from a different angle. That's why Mississippi State intrigues me so much. I mean, lost in the shuffle of all the drama last year with Will Rogers at quarterback, they started putting up some yards. And I think Mississippi State is going to be one of the statistically top passing offenses in all of college football, if not this next year, then the year after. And that's what you have to do if you're in the same division with Alabama and Texas A&M. You're not going to go out there and be more physical than they are. You're not going to beat them by being better than they are at being them. You have to be something different and slide in that way. And that's why I think Tennessee has a good chance to do that. Certainly a better chance than Tennessee does than Kentucky does to kind of get over that hump and say, yeah, Georgia, yeah, Alabama, we're going to be more physical than you, and we're going to beat you that way. Because that's the way they're kind of set up right now.
So I'll say this, and these 3-year rankings probably back this up. I don't expect either school to beat Alabama or Georgia over the next 5 years, whether it's Tennessee. And look, I know people love Josh Heupel, and I know he puts the ball in the air. And I do think that they've got a chance to have a good team this year. I think Hendon Hooker, might be a good quarterback. And they, throw the ball. They'll put up points. Maybe they'll play a little defense. Who knows? But I don't think either of those two programs are going to come close to Alabama or Georgia or even Texas A&M or the top of the SEC this year, Trev.
Yeah. It'll take a minute before certainly Tennessee can get to that point. Kentucky, ironically, might be a little bit closer because they can slow the games down and keep the scores a little bit closer than Tennessee can keep right now. Right now, Tennessee, because their defense has so far to go, is going to have to plan on winning track meets in order to come close to those top teams. And they're being structured right now to try to win those track meets. I mean, they scored almost double the points in 2021 than they did the year before, right? And so some things were working out, but you still have to, in this SEC, you still have to have the physicality in the trenches to have a chance. You're not going to go beat them in a 7-on-7 situation. And so, give credit to Kentucky for building that foundation. Tennessee has got a lot of experience coming back on the offensive line. They'll have a chance to be pretty good there, but on that defensive front, they still have to show that they can slow down the powerful SEC teams in order for that high-powered passing offense to really come into its own from a complementary standpoint.
Trevor Matich is with us, presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters. Now, I'm not one to sit here and talk about my team, but on the other side, I don't know if you guys have been looking at the recruiting rankings lately. Have you guys seen what we're doing over at Louisville?
Since when have you cared about recruiting rankings?
Since
you poo-poo recruiting rankings.
There's a difference now, though.
Because now it benefits you?
Nope. There's money involved. And so I want to get to that with Trevor coming up next. Because trust me, it ain't an accident that all of a sudden we're getting great recruiting. I mean, I'm not one of these people that, Calipari's cheating and we never do. I'm not that guy. We'll get to that with Trevor because we just got the number 1 running back in the country. So we'll get Trevor's thoughts on how name, image, and likeness is playing a role in all of this. And that's next. Presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters. Stillman and Company right here on 102.5 The Game.
Let's put the green flag in the air and turn them loose. Nashville's home for NASCAR.
He's going to try to make a big move here.
Is brought to you by the Nashville Super Speedway.
Checker flag!
We are your racing station.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app.
From Fox 17 News, this is a Code Red weather alert.
Another steamy day on tap for Wednesday. In fact, looking like we could actually reach 100 for the afternoon. An air quality alert in effect with mainly sunny skies. For Fox 17, I'm Chief Meteorologist Katie Morgan.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Looking to save money? With DriveWise from Allstate, the safer you drive, the more you can save. At Allstate, better protection costs a whole lot less. Visit allstate.com or call an agent for a quote today.
Hey, Robbie Stanley here to tell you can go yard all June long with $5 Dinger Tuesdays on FanDuel Sportsbook. This season, all customers will get $5 for every home run hit by both teams when you place a $25 to hit a home run wager on Tuesday MLB games. And the best part about Dinger Tuesdays is even if your bet loses, FanDuel will pay you $5 for every home run. I like Aaron Judge with the New York Yankees. He's mashing the ball so far this year. I also like Mookie Betts with the LA Dodgers as well. But you can take it any way you want to take it What are you waiting on? Just pick your home run hitter and turn big swings into big wins. There's no better place to bet America's pastime than on America's #1 sportsbook. You can head over to your FanDuel account or download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Sign up using promo code ROB. Once again, that promo code is ROB. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. A max bonus of $25. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Got a gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
Hey, this is Sean Ford, Director of Sales for ESPN 1025 The Game. I'm looking for talented salespeople to add to our dynamic and growing team. If you're an experienced seller who's looking for a new adventure and a career path that offers more excitement and new opportunities, you may want to listen up. First of all, if you're hearing this message, you're probably already a fan of The Game. We have a long list of local businesses who are fans too and love what we do to help them grow. You might be someone who could be a part of that experience. Are you comfortable meeting strangers and earning their trust? Do you enjoy working in a team environment, but self-motivated to set and achieve your own personal goals? Are you a creative person who loves to share your ideas with others? Do you thrive on making a difference in your community? If the answers to all those questions was yes, then we should talk. Send your resume and cover letter to together@cromwellmedia.com. That's together@cromwellmedia.com. Let's see if we're a good match. Cromwell Media is an equal opportunity employer.
Darren McFarland.
That's the most personality I think I've heard.
Willie Donick.
Give me credit. I said it.
Chase McCabe.
I still talk to people outside of this building.
The DDC. Weekdays from 10 to 2.
Presented by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling.
On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
1025 and 1063 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Sounds like this has been a game-changing day for all of us.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
On ESPN.
1025 and 1063 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, it is Tuesday, which means Trevor Maddox is with us, presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters. I think you all know that I do not care about recruiting. I have made it very clear, and I also do not care when it's my team that's doing the recruiting. That I do not sit there and say, hey, we got this big, good Louisville story. Not really. My college mentor just became the athletic director, and we didn't talk about it much on this show. Like, we didn't talk about it other than to say, hey, he got the job. But yesterday we got the commitment of Reuben Owens, who's apparently is some running back from Texas. Drew, who works here in sales, texted me and said, who is opening their wallet at Louisville? I pulled up 24/7 Sports, and again, you know I don't care about this stuff, but I pulled it up today. Of our top 10 recruits, 4 of them are in this upcoming class, including this #1 running back. Apparently we have some quarterback. Apparently we had some recruiting weekend where we had private jets and luxury cars. So NIL is a game changer. Trevor Maddox is with us. Trev, Scott Satterfield, love him, hate him, like him, whatever. I think he's an average, Appalachian State coach. And for 3 years, he recruited like he was at Appalachian State, not the ACC. And now we got the #1 running back. What do you make of this, and what does it mean for college football as a whole?
I think it's great. I think it's fantastic. And really that #1 running back who is out of Texas, by the way, he was a commit to Texas early, Reuben Owens. The second, he says that he chose Louisville after decommitting from Texas because he wanted to go the road less traveled. He wanted to go to a place where he can make his own mark. And maybe that's the case. But maybe that mark includes like dollar signs, right? Those little that little can that you run over $100 bills to make sure it's not counterfeit. That's the mark that he was talking about. And that might be the case. He also, by the way, joins there in the same class, the #2 overall receiver prospect, kid out of California, DeAndre Moore, which is interesting. And so one of the best players out of California and one of the best players out of Texas both show up at Louisville. Louisville? Does that make sense?
No.
And I think it's great though. Listen, this is where I disagree with Nick Saban, because Coach Saban has lamented that that no longer are recruits wanting to know much about the fit at the university, about the academic side, about the coaching staff, about all that stuff. What they want to know is, hey, where's my NIL deal? How much money can you get me, right? And so all of a sudden we're starting to see guys that end up in places that don't make any logical sense under the old system, where they would go to a different place if there weren't a whole lot of NIL money luring them somewhere else My thought is, hey, you can get for this running back, he can get just as good an education at Louisville as he can at Texas. He will graduate from Louisville if he wants. But if he got a much bigger NIL deal, I don't know this, but I'm kind of assuming that he may have. If he got that at Louisville, then good for him, man. Because if he doesn't go to the NFL, and most won't, that gives him an opportunity to potentially graduate from college with tens of thousands of dollars that he can use to start a business, put a down payment on a house, get his life started. And I've got no problem at all with that. I think that's good for college football.
No, Trevor, I look at this and I feel like Louisville right now, we are the Texas A&M of the ACC, because I don't know where this money's coming from, but it's coming. Because you look at the football recruiting and the basketball recruiting, and like Nick Saban said, buying every player. I'm not saying we're doing that. Wink, wink. I'm just not saying we're not doing that. And you all know me. I don't care anymore. Supreme Court said pay the player, so I'm like, let's do it. Now, do you think that for a school like A&M, or in this case, a school like us, or if there's another school out there that's doing this where they got in on the front end of NIL very quickly and made the Dabo Sweeneys and the Nick Sabans poop their pants the way they've been doing, do you think that that is just temporary and that when all is said and done, Georgia will catch up and Ohio State will catch up and Alabama will catch up, and by the time we actually get to signing day, that they'll have all their NIL money too, and they'll be able to pay more NIL money than the other schools that are ahead of it right now will pay? Or do you think the schools like Tennessee finally have some hope that they can go out there and beat Nick Saban? You just have to pay more money.
Well, sure. I mean, and if you're a college football fan, before we get to the actual money and who's going to step up, don't you think this is great? Where you've got a chance for some of the top prospects to not go to the same 8 schools all the time, but rather to get spread around, maybe even some of them to your school, right? And what will that do for non-conference games and for the national championship race? I mean, I think that's really good. The assumption has always been that the rich will just get richer, and maybe that's the case. Maybe that'll happen because paying players isn't just NIL from boosters, et cetera. Paying players may end up being players getting a percentage of the next playoff contract or the next TV contracts, or maybe getting paid directly from the schools through those television partners and broadcast partners. I mean, there's all kinds of things that could still happen. But from a standpoint of getting talent spread around to different teams instead of the same old ones that we're always talking about, heading down the stretch, the same 6 teams that will have the best chance of making the playoff, right? Once we get to late October, starting to November, it's usually the same bunch with an outlier in there somewhere. Well, this might add a whole lot more cross-pollination to that. So we start there. But at the same time, I think that we assume that all the usual suspects will get their ducks in a row from an NIL standpoint, but I think we might be surprised a little bit. The whole thing about Nick Saban and this kerfuffle he had with Jimbo Fisher came when he was speaking to a bunch of Alabama boosters and basically said, hey, you guys are going to have to come up with some more money here because A&M bought their entire recruiting class, and we're not trying to do that, but we may have to. Well, he apologized for saying that A&M did that, and he did come out and say he didn't say that A&M did anything illegal or unethical. But from a standpoint of who's got the most money, who do you think? When you put together the richest boosters, who has more money, A&M or Alabama?
Well, you just asked who's got the most money. The answer to me is Texas. I mean, Texas,
it's A&M.
In this,
and so
Texas should never lose a football game.
What if A&M is able to outclass Alabama's best in terms of NIL money? All of a sudden, Alabama is going to have to compete in a completely different way in an arena that it doesn't have the best tools to compete with. And you look at Clemson. We think of Clemson in recent years under Dabo as being a national championship contender. This last year they had a down year. They still won 10 games. And before Dabo Sweeney, Clemson never had $1 million donation, not once. They've had a bunch of them under Dabo because he was able to go find the folks that could do it, and he was able to sell them on why that was good, and they've done it. But does Clemson have the same kind of boosters that can put together a ton of NIL money that other schools are going to have that they're competing with for those same players? And so I think this is one of the reasons that Dabo right now is showing a few signs of stress. when it comes to this, because all of a sudden now they're having to compete on a completely different level that the coach has no influence over, and that is, what is my potential pool of NIL money that boosters can get together and make available to my recruits? Because if I don't have that, I'm not going to get the recruits anymore. And so if Louisville's got someone that popped up and paid some guys, great. I think it's wonderful. I just think that you're going to see some of the traditional powers currently I don't want to say take a step back, but have stresses in their recruiting, cracks in their recruiting walls that are going to be apparent. And I think you may see some coach movement as well, because, who knows if Texas A&M outclasses Alabama from an NIL standpoint and the amount of money they're able to pay and stuff like that, will that have an effect on Nick Saban's decision as to how long he wants to coach? Right? And so now, again, it's not just about NIL money, because there's all the new television things that are coming in. We still haven't seen a heavy influx of streaming money into college football. There's still the possibility of super conferences and all kinds of things that are going to affect all this stuff. But right now, as we see it starting to affect it, we're starting to see top players go into places that we never would have thought they would have gone had it not been for this brave new world of NIL.
There you go. Trevor Matich, as always, presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, where experience matters. Great stuff, Trev. I know you got some Simmons takes. We'll get to that next week. Appreciate you, as always.
Thanks, Jared.
Yep, Trevor Matich joining us on the program. It's different now. Once you start paying, like it used to be, you'd get May recruiting rankings, and this is probably going to be this way a little bit this year, because you look at it right now, like Arkansas is up there, and Louisville's up there, and whatever. But then when push comes to shove, the good schools come in and they flip the guys every time. All I'm saying is that when I look at this and I see the fact that it's like a whole wave of money that's apparently, I don't know how it's getting out there. I don't know what the checks and balances are. I don't know, both literally and figuratively. I don't know. But I was, again, pulled it up. Like the number one recruit ever in Louisville history is Michael Bush. Number 2 is this guy. Number 3 is Brian Brom. Number 4 is another guy in this class. Number 5 is, I think, James Quick, an old wide receiver. And of the top 10 recruits we've ever had, 3 or 4 of them are from this class. And I just think it's money.
Damn.
I just think it's – and our coach, I don't even think he's going to make it through this season. He might. Who knows? But he, to me, is like a bumpkin from Appalachian State who coaches like he's still at Appalachian State and was recruiting like it was Appalachian State, and then all of a sudden NIL became legal and we started recruiting like we're Texas A&M. I mean, I'm not saying, I'm just saying. I don't know what it is, but it's something. But the thing is if Louisville's doing this, everybody else is going to start doing it too. Like, we're not going to be number one at doing this for forever. 615-737-1025. Speaking of money, Jeffrey Simmons is due a contract eventually, but not right now. But I got to get on the people who cover this team, because I don't think they understand how this works. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company, it's ESPN 1025 The Game.
You watch The Game.
And the score! Philip Forsberg from the left circle!
We talk The Game.
You can't just pick up one guy and be competitive in the playoffs.
We are The Game. Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 and 1063 The Game and The Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Motley Crue. Def Leppard. The Stadium Tour. A once-in-a-lifetime event. With Poison. And Joan Jett of the Blackhearts. June 30th, Nissan Stadium. Tickets on sale now at LiveNation.com or at the Nissan Stadium box office. Motley Crue, Def Leppard, the Stadium Tour.
QC Kinetics patient Robert Patterson, a veteran and business owner, struggled at work and in the gym with chronic agonizing shoulder pain.
Those injuries just continue to nag, and if you don't treat them, they just get worse. And I just kind of abused my body for a long time, and it finally had said enough is enough.
That's okay, because QC Kinetics tells your pain, hey, enough is enough. Their regenerative treatments bring you relief by helping restore and repair damaged tissue with no drugs, no downtime, and best of all, no surgery.
I was able to exceed the goals that I had previously attained in the gym, it was absolutely worth its weight in gold. So I could continue to live life without limitation.
Ready to get lasting relief from your joint pain? Call QC Kinetics to learn more about how natural biologic treatments can get you lasting results. Call now. It's a free consultation.
615-249-4024. QC Kinetics. 615-249-4024.
People are driving from all over to shop at Genesis Diamonds right now to take advantage of our very best financing offer. Now extended through July 2nd. 5 years, zero interest financing with zero down. It's a fantastic opportunity, making everything more affordable. How about a $6,000 GIA certified diamond for just $100 a month? A $4,000 pair of diamond stud earrings, just $67 a month. Don't miss this. We will not be extending it again. 5 years, zero interest financing, exclusively at Genesis Diamonds. Open this Sunday. Green Hills and Cool Springs. On approved credit.
7.5 million children in Ukraine need to find water and shelter. They need a place to sleep and comfort in the dark. Show them the world cares. Support UNICEF. UNICEFUSA.org/action.
Hey, you see Tony's face?
Yeah, he's using one of them Dollar Shave Club 6-blade razors with 6 stainless steel blades for a close shave. His face is as smooth as a river rock.
Smooth as a nice olive oil.
Like a bowling ball.
Like silk pajamas.
Like a seal down at the aquarium.
Like a ball of wax.
Wax job?
Hey, no one said nothing about a wax job, okay? Quit being a wise guy.
Dollar Shave Club. For a noticeably smooth shave. Find us in stores and at dollarshaveclub.com.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne, Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
The leading receiver.
Awesome game 7.
Checkered flag in the air. The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Where you have a voice.
We're one play away from an injury. He knows this. He's a study of the game.
And we have strong opinions.
He's been awful. I don't think they were trying, and that's why I feel the way I feel.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman and Caroline Fenton. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, ESPN 102.5. The Game streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry. Live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. So this morning I wake up and I see Gentry Estes has written a column about Jeffrey Simmons and how the Titans might have to be worried about Simmons holding in or holding out or something about Jeffrey Simmons' contract. And I, at 7 a.m., texted Gentry Estes like, huh? Why do I have to be worried about that? So then, I'm on a morning walk this morning, and I got my headphones in, and I got these new headphones because I swim with these headphones on, and so they go like around the head as opposed to the pods that go in the ear. These go like inside the ear, but also they go around my head or whatever.
See,
so,
I'm more of a pod girl.
Yeah, but if you're trying to swim with them on,
Yeah.
like these are waterproof, so when you're trying to swim with them, it's easier just to keep it like around the back of your head.
Got some security in your noggin.
Yeah, so it's the back of the head, but yes. But I'm sitting there with my headphones on a morning walk. I'm listening to John Glennon in studio, and they're talking about how the Titans should give Jeffrey Simmons a contract extension. And I'm like, no. What? Why all of a sudden? Because he wants one? Okay, I'd like a new contract. Can I have a new contract today? No. That's not how this works. By the way, Kyler Murray is demanding a new contract. Did he get one?
Nope.
No. Debo Samuel is demanding a new contract. Did he get one? No. So now they have to give Jeffrey Simmons a contract? So I forget exactly what John Glennon said, but I texted Joe and I said, that was a horrible take. And I've now learned that if I text Joe anything, it immediately goes right on the air.
Did he say to keep Jeffrey Simmons happy? Something along those lines?
So we have what they said. When I said that it was a bad take by John Glennon, here's what they said this morning.
If Jeffrey Simmons isn't happy and if he is not practicing, and if worse comes to worse, and if he wasn't playing and we're looking way down the road, how do you think Titans community is going to react to that? Do you think they're probably going to say, that's a good point. We really need Jeffrey to hold off and wait for his next contract. He really hasn't done much for this team. No. The Titans community is going to say we need to get Jeffrey Simmons back out there, and the Titans defense is an entirely different defense, without Jeffrey Simmons in the middle of it. So he's got plenty of leverage himself.
Yeah, and there's not a guy in the locker room, not that this necessarily means a ton, but it means something. There's not a guy in the locker room who would look at this as anything but a complete blunder by John Robinson and be very upset about it. Look, if you make a deal right now with Jeffrey Simmons, and again, I think by the end of the deal, you could be pretty happy with what you're paying him. That's another part here. He's a special situation, and you have to have your finger on the pulse of your team and your roster if you're a GM, and I'd say you're a pretty bad GM if you look at it the way Jared does.
So with that,
I don't think John Robinson's a bad GM. I think Jared would be.
Okay.
So you're a bad GM. Let's first and foremost get that out of the way.
That is by far the least offensive of any of the things that they just said. I heard that this morning, and I'm like, the people who cover this team, and I'm not saying everybody, so don't be mad at me. I can see TD getting mad at me when I say the people who cover this team.
Yeah.
But, and I'm not talking about TD. I'm not talking about TD. But the people who cover this team do not do a very good job explaining to you all how these things work. Because you heard right there where John Glennon was like, if Jeffrey Simmons isn't practicing and he's not on the field and then he misses game, then what? Jeffrey Simmons has to practice. There's no way around it. If Jeffrey Simmons were to show up to training camp and he were to say, I'm not practicing until I get a new contract, then the Titans would hold him, they would suspend him with conduct detrimental to the team. Remember, Isaiah Wilson went through this, where all of a sudden now Jeffrey Simmons is suspended. Does Jeffrey Simmons want that? If Jeffrey Simmons were to not show up to training camp, which is another thing that John Glennon, if he's not at camp, if Jeffrey Simmons were to not show up at training camp, he would be fined $40,000 a day. He would lose a game check for every preseason game that he misses under this collective bargaining agreement. And that $40,000 a day would total $1.6 million. He's due $2.2 million this season. You're going to give away half your salary for the season because you want to make a point to the Titans? No. The truth is, everybody around town has gotten brainwashed about how leverage works under this CBA, or they haven't learned, or they don't know. And to Joe's point about if you don't give Jeffrey Simmons a contract, the locker room is going to be unhappy with John Robinson. What? They just traded A.J. Brown. You going to tell me? And by the way, did anybody seem pissed off when they were asked about it over the last couple of months about, hey, what do you make A.J. not being here? I liked A.J., but, we got to go on with business and go on forward, and he's moved on, and we've moved on, and, I don't know.
I think they all understand that this is a business.
Yes. Again, the whole idea, I keep looking at each side of this, the whole idea of, how will the locker room feel if you don't pay Jeffrey Simmons? I don't know. How will the locker room feel if you don't pay Derrick Henry? Because Derrick Henry wants a contract. It makes absolutely no sense. As Joel Corey from CBS said the other day, it would be irresponsible to give Derrick Henry a contract extension. Well, I could argue it'd be irresponsible to feel guilted into giving Jeffrey Simmons a contract extension just because. Because that's what this is.
And that's the kicker here is Joe saying, well, everyone's going to look at that and the Titans aren't giving players what they want. Because that's all it is what they want. That's what Jeffrey Simmons wants is a raise and an extension. Duh, so do I. But, he does. But that's not what he is owed. He has 2 years left on his existing contract. So I can stand here and say, I'm not doing a single show until you give me a raise and an extension. Well, you could say, okay. Well, that's not what you're owed. You don't have a contract that is up. You are not. That is just something that you want and something that you're demanding. And this is not the National Football League of Jeffrey Simmons getting what he wants.
I just don't get where all of a sudden all the players are entitled to whatever they want. I don't get it.
And it is based in nothing other than
it's based in nothing.
It's based in nothing other than Aaron Donald got paid. And Jeffrey Simmons wants to get paid.
Not the same.
That's it. But
not the same.
There is no correlation between it.
And even Aaron
Same
Donald.
thing with Kyler Murray. You're going to throw a stink and you're going to delete all your pictures off of your social media because you want to raise? Well, you're not owed one.
Even Aaron Donald had to flex the I might retire muscle.
And that's the best player in the NFL we're talking about.
He had to flex the, I might retire, and he's got enough money to do it. Jeffrey Simmons does not. So this is this idea of oh my God, and then Glennon, and I love Glennon. I just want everybody to know that I love the man, but don't bring the takes onto the radio if you don't want your takes on the radio to be discussed. But this idea that the Titans community that he was talking about, I don't exactly know what that means, but it sounds like he's loosely referring to Twitter, will be really upset if they don't give Jeffrey Simmons what he wants. Let me say this. I will be upset if they kowtow to Jeffrey Simmons. But if they give Jeffrey Simmons a contract with 2 years left on his deal, which they have not done, they have not given an extension to a player on a rookie contract with 2 years left on their deal. If they give Jeffrey Simmons a market value contract, which I think is between $25 and $28 million a season, if they give him a market value contract with 2 years left on his deal, and they flex no muscles about this, and they just let him walk all over them, just like AJ did, even though AJ, I think it was different, which we'll get to. But if that happens, I'm going to be very disappointed in John Robinson, because at some point you can't give the players everything they want. You got to, at some point, you got to put your foot down and say, no, this is not how we're run. And the Arizona Cardinals, to their credit, they've done that. The Kyler has cried and moaned and groaned the most you can. And I'd say this, if we had to worry about, who's more important for the locker room to keep happy, who's more important to keep happy? Jeffrey Simmons of the Titans, Jeffrey Simmons who's never complained about anything, or the quarterback of the Arizona Cardinals?
Probably the quarterback.
Who they drafted number 1 overall, and they hired a coach specifically for. I'm going to guess him. So, again, when I hear all this stuff about, the Gentry column, he might hold out. I'm like, no, not under this collective bargaining agreement. He's not going to hold out. Or it's a special situation. They need to give him a contract. They don't need to do anything. They have the leverage. And they can, if they want to give him a contract. If Simmons wants financial security, he can negotiate with the Titans for a less than market value contract. But that's what it is. It's not this idea of, the Titans owe Jeffrey Simmons a contract. This is not Philip Forsberg. He is owed a contract.
And to John Glennon's point about the Titans community will be upset if Jeffrey Simmons doesn't get what he wants. Well, you know what? If Jeffrey Simmons doesn't get what he wants, how does that affect the Titans community? Not a single bit.
Not at all.
Because Jeffrey Simmons will still be on the Tennessee Titans in 2022. He will still be in training camp. He will still be in the games. It's not like he's just going to walk away.
That is
Nothing will change for Titans fans if Jeffrey Simmons doesn't get a contract. I understand the Titans fans probably want the security of Jeffrey Simmons just as much as Jeffrey Simmons wants security with the Tennessee Titans, but your lives will not be impacted for the better or the worse or be any different if Jeffrey Simmons doesn't get paid.
This reminds me of when sports teams were canceling games and practices because the guy in Wisconsin got shot a couple years ago. And
yes.
I remember saying on the air, I was like, if you care about this, because this was COVID, so practice was completely closed to everybody. You couldn't see practices. I think almost every practice in the NFL was canceled. And so the fans couldn't even watch practice. And I was like, if you're a fan and you care about this, that tells me more about you than it does practice, because you can't even watch practice.
Yeah.
I mean, it's practice. And
talking about practice.
You can't even see it. It's not like you could go to practice. Oh, man, I was going to go to practice today, and then
my day is ruined.
COVID. You couldn't even go to practice. And this is kind of the same, where it's like, if you're emotionally wrapped up in this on the Jeffrey Simmons front about how dare they, he's gonna play this year. If they make him play at $2 million, he will play at $2 million. Just like if they had made AJ play at $4 million, AJ would have had to suck it up and play at $4 million. AJ threatened, and TD reported this, that he would not show up in the building without a new contract, which sounds great, except for the fact that if AJ didn't show up to training camp at the start of training camp this year, if he was still on the Titans, he would have been a restricted free agent and not an unrestricted free agent. And there is a humongous difference in that. And when AJ's throwing around these random threats and deleting his Instagram and Twitter or whatever it is, AJ probably hasn't read the CBA, and that's a big part of it. So I am just explaining to you the reality. Jeffrey Simmons is owed $2.2 million this year. $10.75 next year on the 5th-year option, which is fully guaranteed. Jeffrey Simmons, and I do wonder how conduct detrimental to the team being suspended would affect his guarantees. Taylor Lewan lost all his guarantees when he tested positive for the PEDs. So I wonder how that would affect Simmons. I don't know the answer to that. But again, that's $2 million plus $10.75. The Titans also have the franchise tag the following year that they can tag on to Simmons. That's 3 years of control. We factored that to be around $11.6 million per year. So if you're going to come to the table, don't expect the Aaron Donald money because they got you for $11.6 million. We'll get your thoughts in on this. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Plus, Joel Corey explains what remedies he has and doesn't have as far as holding out is concerned. We'll go over that. And I need everybody to understand why this is different than A.J. Brown. 615-737-1025, and we'll do that next. Stillman & Company, it's 1025 The Game.
Join Chase McCabe for Chasing Checkers every Sunday morning at 8 for all the news in the world of motorsports.
Joey Logano gets the very first victory in the next-gen car
while hearing from the big names.
Two-time champion Kyle Busch.
Being able to bring NASCAR, the Cup Series, back to Nashville is cool.
It's Chasing Checkers, presented by Apple Collision Centers and the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Calling a criminal defense lawyer or a divorce lawyer, you may think it's the worst day of your life. It doesn't have to be. If you have quality, competent representation who can guide you through a complex system, we can do that for you. Despite if you've been arrested for a DUI or a robbery charge, whether or not you're going through a divorce or a post-divorce, or demanding your fundamental constitutional right to parent your children. 615-604-6263. AmandaJGentry.com.
Hello, Nashville. Looking to save money on your wireless bill? You can when you choose Consumer Cellular. Sign up today and you'll get the exact same coverage as the leading carriers for half the cost. This gives you direct access to the widest, most established cellular networks available. Consumer Cellular offers flexible monthly plans with no contract and simple, affordable service that's perfect for your lifestyle and budget. Featuring a wide variety of top-of-the-line phones from Samsung, Motorola, and Apple, you'll find a phone that's perfect for you. Everything is backed by a 100% risk-free guarantee, plus 100% U.S.-based award-winning customer support. Switch your talk, text, and data plan before July 31st and get $100 on every new line of service. Right-size your plan and downsize your bill with Consumer Cellular. Visit consumercellular.com/Nashville100 and enter code Nashville100 to start saving today.
Hey, it's Chase McCabe here to tell you about Dr. Kelly Rice Family Cosmetic and Dental Sleep Medicine. Dr. Rice, listen, we all have cavities, but what's the best way to try and keep them from happening?
Cavities are like any other health condition. You don't really know you have one until it gets bad. Recently, I saw a patient for treatment that they had been putting off. Something that could have been simple to fix 6 months ago turned out to need a root canal and a crown. Postponing treatment costs more and takes time away from work.
Nobody wants a root canal, so you're right. Regular checkups are very important.
Well, we do things differently. I want to let people know that if they're afraid of pain or worried about the cost, they are not alone. Don't be embarrassed. We understand. Give us a call at 615-373-4488. That's kellyerice.com.
Dr. Kelly Rice Family Cosmetic and Dental Sleep Medicine. If you don't have dental insurance, no problem. Be sure to join their membership club. Just visit kellyerice.com or call 615-373-4488 now to schedule your cleaning and checkup. You'll certainly be glad you did.
The coolest beer fest in town returns to Bridgestone Arena on Saturday, June 25th. Get out of the heat and enjoy unlimited craft beer tastings from over 80 breweries at the Preds Beer Fest. Each general admission ticket includes a souvenir tasting glass and a ticket to a Preds home game in October. General admission ticket starts at just $69. All proceeds benefit the Nashville Predators Foundation, which supports Middle Tennessee nonprofits. Visit NashvillePredators.com/beer to secure your tickets today.
We want to hear from you.
Thanks for taking the call.
Join the conversation. Call or text at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You're listening to Stillman & Company.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
On ESPN 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Williams said you're not hurt, so if you're focused on football, how come you're not on the field?
Because we are on – I kind of just said that me and Vrave and them came to a plan where, where they think best for me right now, and, that's where I'm a player, and, I believe in Coach Vrave, and I believe in Ty and them that, since I've been here, they've been putting me in a great position to be the player I am today. So, I'm on a plan with them right now. So
Jeff just talked to us and he said that that he's on board with a plan with you and everybody else here to, at this point during this mini camp. But is it all designed to help him be at his freshest come training camp in the season at this point?
No, just doing exactly what we ask him to do. Like everybody else, everybody's got a different plan, and that's where we're at right now.
Is this to help him keep fresh for the season? No.
This is just the plan.
I mean, even when they try to give Vrabel the way out, he's just like, no. No. So, again, the Jeffrey Simmons contract negotiation talk, this isn't going to go away. In fact, I think it's just going to start. And then when he gets to training camp, then there's going to be questions asked about that. And it's going to continue on and on and on. The one thing that I do want everybody to know out there, because I think people don't understand this, and this is the number one thing that bothered me about the A.J. Brown trade. A.J. did not have leverage. And you may be sitting in your car right now saying to yourself, well, he got exactly what he wanted, and you would be right. But that isn't leverage. Basically, the Titans could have made A.J. Brown play for $4 million, and A.J. would have cried, and A.J. would have complained about his knees, and he would have sat out of practices because of his knees, and he would have talked about and tweeted and done all the crazy things that A.J. Brown probably would have done. And I believe that A.J. had one factor in his favor that Jeffrey Simmons doesn't have right now, and that's the draft. Because as I told you before the draft, I said, if they have not made up their minds as to what to do with A.J., the price on whatever you're getting for him dramatically changes the second Thursday night's over. Because that's the only place you can get a replacement for him is in that draft. You cannot sign a replacement for A.J. Brown. You cannot trade for another wide receiver as a replacement for A.J. Brown after the draft. So if you get to Thursday and he's still on your team, then you're up a creek. And ultimately, they decided, let's just go get Treylon Burks. Even though he might have asthma, he is like A.J. Brown, and let's go from there. That's what they did. But what I think that's done is it's misguided people to believe that all of a sudden Jeffrey Simmons is entitled to some new contract when Jeffrey Simmons is absolutely positively not entitled to a new contract. In fact, let's use the other one. A.J. did request a trade, reportedly, but it wasn't public. Deebo Samuel's request for a trade was in fact public, and last time I checked, Deebo Samuel is still on the San Francisco 49ers. So that's telling me that San Francisco, unlike the Titans, said to Deebo, no, you're going to play. Well, nope, you're going to play. Well, I won't. Okay. Don't show up to training camp and get be a restricted free agent, and then when somebody signs you to a contract next year, we'll just match it. How about that? Well, I know. Oh, okay. So this thing, and I told you this when it happened, and I've said this ever since. A.J. has felt empowered, A.J. Brown has, since the trade because he believes his antics worked. And that's where the Titans have to correct the market here before it gets out of hand because the people who cover the team clearly, as we played the Joe Rex Road and John Glennon clips and, Gentry and I were texting today because Gentry wrote a column in the Tennessean about Jeffrey Simmons' contract. And Gentry was talking about, you can say he didn't have leverage, but look what happened. Right. But that wasn't about leverage. And not only that, A.J. had 1 year left. Simmons has 2. And that's a big difference, too. But I understand why people would think what they think of, oh, God, we didn't pay A.J., and now if we don't pay Jeff, we're going to lose. Oh, my God, what are we going to do?
I understand the little bit of trust issues with the Titans. I get it.
But these are, as far as leverage is concerned, as I said the last segment, I will be very, very upset with John Robinson if the Titans give Jeffrey Simmons a full market value contract before training camp starts this year.
It's just not what he's owed.
No,
and
not under these rules.
And if so many people are afraid of the Titans repeating what happened with A.J. Brown with Jeffrey Simmons, which I don't think is going to happen, okay, then you give Jeffrey Simmons a fully guaranteed market deal. Then who's the next player coming down the pipe that says, I want a fully guaranteed market deal 2 years before my contract is up? Because you did that with Jeffrey Simmons. Do you not value me as much as Jeffrey Simmons? Do you not think I'm as good of a player as Jeffrey Simmons? So if we're going to talk about precedents that are being set, we have to talk about the precedent that would be set with Jeffrey Simmons if he is given this deal.
And the other thing about young players, there's a difference between young players and old players. And that is Ryan Tannehill has enough money today to tell the Titans, I'll retire if you don't do what I want you to do. That's different. Aaron Donald has that money. I think if Derrick Henry gets $12.5 million next year and the Titans, and let's say, he's going to get $12.5 million this season and he balls out and the Titans don't want to do anything special for him with that 15 next year, Derrick can threaten to retire. He'll have enough money to be able to do it. Jeffrey Simmons, A.J. Brown, those guys cannot threaten to retire. They don't have the money. You just call their bluff. Okay, go retire, Jeff. Go retire. You go leave $100 million on the table. You go retire. He's not going to do it. So that, I guess, gets me kind of worked up, as far as all this is concerned. 615-737-1025. I do want you guys to hear what Joel Corey, former NFL agent, now with CBS, what he said about holding out, because holdouts are not the same anymore. This fear that Simmons would hold out, that John Glennon and Joe were talking about, it's not going to happen. And he'll explain why. And then we're to your phones. Stillman and Company right here on 102.5 The Game.
Want the latest on the Predators from the people that cover them?
Heck of a year so far for the Predators. They've been so much fun to watch.
Join Robbie Stanley for Preds Insiders every Monday at 6.
I feel probably as good about this group of 6 on D.
Presented by Dr. Kelly Rice on Smashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Houston Clinic Orthopedics wants to thank their patients for voting them the #1 orthopedic practice in the Nashville Scene Poll for 3 years in a row. Their physicians specialize in spine, joint replacement, knee, hip, upper extremity, and other orthopedic conditions. At Houston Clinic Orthopedics, they adhere to all CDC guidelines for the patient's and staff safety. To experience world-class orthopedic care and see a list of all physicians, visit their website at tn.houston.com and book your appointment online today.
Celebrate July 4th with huge deals from Electronic Express. Save big on summer necessities from brands like Charbroil, Yeti, Samsung, GE, Sony, and more. Electronic Express has huge savings in every department. Computers, appliances, 4K TVs, smart home, furniture, and more. Save up to 40% on all appliances with up to 36 months free financing. Shop in-store or online at electronicexpress.com and get free express delivery on most items. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Parman Tractor and Equipment is your one-stop tractor and equipment solution and Middle Tennessee's Link Belt and Takeuchi dealer. No matter how you're getting there, start with Parman Tractor and Equipment. Rent or purchase a track loader, mini excavator, large excavators for your job site, or something in between. Their service and parts team will get your work site up and running in no time. Parman Tractor and Equipment will come to you for service if needed. Visit ParmanTractor.com for more info. Your Middle Tennessee Link Belt and Takeuchi dealer, providing totally outrageous customer service.
Harness LLC needs 5 foremen to join our team. Go to selectharness.com now if you're a foreman with 3 years experience in excavation. Invest in a company who's going to invest in you. Selectharness.com. Harness LLC. Build people, move dirt.
Are you just riding through life, living, but not really living? If that sounds like you, you need to treat yourself to Cartronics, Nashville's premier one-stop shop for vehicle customization since 1982. Their team of install techs provide a 5-star experience from start to finish, ensuring your vehicle is the coolest ride on the block. From cars and trucks to boats, motorcycles, golf carts, and off-road vehicles, Cartronics specializes in personalizing your automotive experience. So visit their website at cartronics.audio and start living today.
Curation CBD is a local family-owned business started and grown right here in Middle Tennessee. Curation's mission is to provide the community with locally and organically sourced CBD products for everyday use. Curation means healing, and their CBD products will do just that. Curation CBD is a certified Tennessee product and is available at the Painted Tree in Franklin. Or visit them online and order now on their website at curationcompany.com. Use promo code DDC25 at checkout for 25% off Curation CBD. Curation, CBD products curated for life.
7.5 million children in Ukraine need to find water and shelter. They need a place to sleep and comfort in the dark. Show them the world cares. Support UNICEF. UNICEFUSA.org/action.
Wednesday night.
Stamkos, let it fly. McKinnon moving in, he scores!
It's Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Final as Tampa Bay takes on Colorado. Coverage begins at 6:30 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Hey Nashville, this is Rick Stockstill, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
As far as we know now, do you think you'll start training camp on time? Is there any reason to think you wouldn't start training camp on time?
My goal is to be here when they tell us report, and like I said, I see you guys at training camp. I'm been on the plan with Coach Vrave now telling me, like I said, when it's time to report, my plan is to be here.
All right, so do we do the foresee thing with my plan?
I can't.
My plan is to report. My plan is to report. Does that mean that he's going to report? Well, his plan is, but his plans could change, and it could. Sounds like he's going to be there.
He's going to report.
And I'm going to tell you why he's going to be there. Because he doesn't have a choice. Joel Corey, former NFL agent, was on my SiriusXM show on Saturday, and I asked him about holdouts and how they are different under this CBA compared to the last one. I don't think holding out is a logical option anymore for players. How do you view that route going forward as a means for players to get deals done?
Well, it's definitely not for the 2019 draft class, the 2nd through 7th round picks who will have expiring contracts. There's a small change in the CBA where if you don't report to training camp on time, you don't get the year service for free agency. They could play all 17 games. They're still not getting it. They have 3 right now. You need 4 to be unrestricted. If they played out their contracts, they would be restricted. Now, the bigger issue for putting that aside is the fine amount. The fines increased in the new CBA. For guys on a veteran contract, it's $50,000 per day you miss of training camp. For guys on a rookie contract, it's $40,000 per day. For veterans, the fine isn't forgivable. For the rookies, it is forgivable, but teams usually enforce that, if not fully, to a degree as a deterrent aspect. Let's say you missed all 40 days of training camp. You're one of these guys because training camp, how it's defined in CBA, is about 40 days depending upon when you start. Why would you want to risk $1.6 million, particularly for these guys when they've never made huge money by NFL standards, in a holdout? You'll see the hold in, which is I show up, I'll do individual work. I'm not doing anything team-wise. That's what Jamal Adams did last year until he got paid, and that was T.J. Watt last year until he got paid. The hold in is a new holdout.
So you're not holding out. And also, Jamal Adams, they traded 2 first-round picks for. What are you going to do? I mean, you don't have a choice there. And with Watt, they were getting a deal done. Simmons has 2 more years. Don't worry about him holding out, even though Gentry wrote that. And John Glennon and Joe Rexrode talked about it today. And Joe Rexrode had a contract suggestion that was 4 years, $85 million, $25 guaranteed for Jeffrey Simmons. And I told him that the Titans would take that today.
And if the Titans would take that today, Jeffrey Simmons
it's not
is
a good
not
contract.
taking that today.
If you're talking about $21 million on average, which would be the same as DeForest Buckner, who signed his deal 2 years ago. $25 million guaranteed, which would be $12 million guaranteed less, so almost 50% less guaranteed money than Chris Jones signed for 2 years ago. You don't ever go back. You go forward. So I think ultimately, this is what I think will happen. I think Simmons will play this year at $2.2 million. He'll sign a new contract next year that will not be full market value, but will be pretty darn close. So he'll probably be somewhere in the 27, 29 range. That's what he'll do, but it'll be next year, not this year. And I think he'll play this year on the $2.2 million. Phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. What do we have in the text line? 615-737-1025.
One texter texts in and says, you guys are talking about Jeffrey Simmons not being owed money, but that man has been a consistent player since he's been here.
I mean, here's the thing about how money works in the NFL. So it's like one of these things where it's, how can Derrick Henry only make $12.5 million when all these other players on the Titans who are not as good as Derrick Henry make way more than that. I mean, Ryan Tannehill, from a salary cap standpoint, is 3 times the hit that Derrick Henry is. And Ryan Tannehill is maybe the 14th best quarterback in the NFL, and Derrick Henry is either the first or second best running back in the NFL. It's because that's how this works. Derrick Henry won the league rushing title, ran for 200 yards in the playoffs against the Ravens and the Patriots, knocked them both out, and was set to make $10.5 million on the franchise tag. Why? Because those are the rules. Like, they're not fair, but those are the rules. So when it comes to Jeffrey Simmons, you can tell me what his value of play is worth. Guess what? Major League Baseball's entire system, and this is where it's like really screwy. Major League Baseball's entire system, and this was a big holdup in their latest CBA or whatever it was, is we want guys on our team that we can basically manage their costs. And then by the time that they reach free agency, 6 years in, they're going to be 29 years old. And so when they're 29 years old, they won't be that good anymore. So somebody will sign them, and then they won't be good, and then that team will have to foot the bill. Anthony Rendon won a World Series 3 years ago with the Washington Nationals. He signed like a $245 million contract. $245 million. And he has not played in more than 60 games in a season in the 3 years for the Angels and is having wrist surgery. That is why these guys, that's how baseball kind of, puts them in the ringer and sends them out. This is football. And in football for Simmons, the truth is he's so far away. It's same with Kyler. Kyler wants to get paid now. I get it. I'd want to get paid too. Arizona doesn't want to pay Kyler right now. You want to know why? Because Arizona doesn't know if he's that good.
And Arizona doesn't have to.
I think Arizona thinks Kyler's good, and I think they hope that Kyler can take the next step. But remember, around here, we talked about Marcus being the franchise quarterback, and after year 2, he looked the part, and he was going to make the Pro Bowl, and then he broke his leg. And then next thing you know, you get to that 5th year, and you don't know with Marcus. Is he your star? I don't know. Then you know. Baker Mayfield, they didn't know. And I think that's where Arizona is. They don't know. So that's my thought on that. What else we got?
Elliot texts in and says, what if Simmons was worried about injury and was like, okay, give me a 5-year, $80 million deal with 60 guaranteed. Would you make that deal?
Okay, say that again.
So what if Jeffrey Simmons is worried about injury, comes to the Titans and says, give me a 5-year, $80 million deal with 60 guaranteed. Do you make that deal?
Okay, hold on. First of all, no. I'm going to start with that. But let's see. 80 divided by 5 is $16 million a year, $60 million of it guaranteed. So this is where you get into the whole, am I tacking it on to what's already owed, or is next season he's playing at an average of $16 million?
I don't know.
I mean, here's the thing. You'd have to lower the guaranteed money on that. And even then, it's still a really bad deal for Simmons. But Max Crosby signed a contract in that class. And he signed a contract with the team that he was drafted by, the Raiders.
Right.
And I believe it's like a $95 million contract over 5 years. 26 of it's guaranteed. That means that they bought out all of his remaining years and that one season is guaranteed at that high-end money for Max Crosby, and then the rest of it is all a series of options every year for Max Crosby that he has to earn each time. That's what you're probably looking at with Simmons, which is, not to say that Joe's point about 85-25 is right, but it's probably going to be about a $100 million contract. But if he signs it right now, he'll get some money up front. But it's basically going to take care of this year, next year, and probably the year after that. And then every other year is essentially an option for the Titans, and it's going to be manageable money.
And that's the problem with getting paid or getting an extension before you're owed one, is it's going to be pretty pro team.
You have to give them something.
Right.
There has to be a reason.
This is a quid pro quo situation.
There has to be a reason for them to do it. And you can sit there and say, but Jeffrey Simmons is the man, and Jeffrey Simmons, Terrell Owens, signed a contract with the Philadelphia Eagles. It was weird the way his free agency went from San Francisco because they didn't fill out the right paperwork and then they had to go to some arbiter or whatever. But Terrell Owens signs a contract with the Philadelphia Eagles. After Terrell Owens signs his contract with the Philadelphia Eagles, more wide receivers start getting paid. T.O. carries the Eagles to the Super Bowl, plays with a broken fibula in the Super Bowl, And if Andy Reid and Donovan McNabb didn't screw it up, there's a pretty good chance that T.O. would have been MVP of that Super Bowl. And that was the third Patriots Super Bowl. Deion Branch was the game's MVP. T.O. was the best player on that field.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next summer was the T.O. doing sit-ups in the driveway, Drew Rosenhaus press conference. And so that was what happened with T.O. because the Eagles were like, no, we're not renegotiating your deal after we just signed you to a deal. That was a league MVP caliber Terrell Owens. I love Jeffrey Simmons. He is not a league caliber MVP right now. So when you sit there and say, but I mean, it's Jeffrey Simmons, what are you? Right. But there's ways these things work. And now that Simmons has, veteran experience on his team as far as helping him negotiate, they're going to tell him, like, hey, man, like, if we do a deal now, like, there's going to be some good team elements into this. The A.J. deal for Philadelphia is a little bit different, though I think it is fairly enough pro team, but that's different because they had to acquire the player. So the deal had to get worked out and had to be okayed before the trade. So that's different. What's next?
Another texter texts in and says Jared was concerned after the A.J. Brown trade that the Titans would gain a reputation as a cheap franchise.
I was not concerned about it. I was dispelling the notion because it was being discussed about locally around here. I would say this about the Titans because I heard the morning show talking about this, and I texted Robbie when they used an example of Traylon Burks. They said if Traylon Burks in 2 or 3 years, like let's say that the asthma's behind him, he dominates starting week 1 against the Giants, Traylon Burks is amazing. Will Traylon Burks look at the team and say, well, they didn't pay A.J. Brown, and they didn't pay Jeffrey Simmons right away, so are they going to pay me? What's that mean going forward? What's that going to be? And are the Titans going to get a reputation of not paying their own players? They just paid Harold Landry full market value. I don't exactly remember what I said about the reputation of the Titans being a cheap team, other than saying that I didn't think it was true. But I will say this about the Titans. I mean, I feel like they put the cash up. I mean, they're, 14th in the league this year in money spent. They were top 5 last year, spent more money on players than the Rams. But I do think the one thing that they got to watch out for is well, you did it for him, so now you should do it for me. Because they leveraged the crap out of Derrick Henry. They used a global pandemic as leverage for Derrick Henry. So if you're going to do that, then all of a sudden give everybody else what they want. I'd be careful about that. What's next?
Jared and Dixon texts in and says, as a Titans fan, I will not be upset one bit if he does not get paid, Jeffrey Simmons. I don't watch it for the money that the players make, and the players need to play more and finish their contracts before they get a new deal. They need to be 100% deserving of it, and he is getting there. Simmons is getting there.
So I would say this. I mean, I do believe that the Titans, long-term, will need to figure out a deal with Jeffrey Simmons.
And I think that will dispel the concern about the Titans looking like a cheap team, is that Jeffrey Simmons just isn't due money now. When he is, he'll get paid.
I mean, I think that he'll probably get paid next year, and I think that's when
which is closer to being dealt the money that he is
2019 picks are going to end up getting paid. So I owe an apology to Caroline, which we'll get to next. And I have a Preds thought because Roman Yossi is up for an award tonight. UC Saros is up for an award tonight. And it's the same way I felt about the Titans. So you can't say I'm piling on. Explain what that is next. Stillman and Company right here. It's 102.5 The Game.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game is your home for NASCAR in Nashville this weekend.
It's a photo finish at the line.
Catch the Rackley Roofing 200, Tennessee Lottery 250, and the Ally 400 right here. It's presented by Backyard Blues Pools, Tootsie's Infield Club, Nashville Super Speedway, and the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway.
From Fox 17 News, this is a Code Red weather alert.
Another steamy day on tap for Wednesday. In fact, looking like we could actually reach 100 for the afternoon. An air quality alert in effect with mainly sunny skies. For Fox 17, I'm Chief Meteorologist Katie Morgan.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Men, what if I told you that now you're able to get testosterone replacement therapy in the comfort of your own home? No more weekly trips to the doctor's office. We come to you 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. Be seen by a licensed medical professional in the privacy and comfort of your own home or office. You decide. Schedule your appointment today at CoolSpringsMDformen.com.
Upgrade her diamond ring this summer with no money down and 0 interest for 5 years. Yes! This killer offer has been extended through July 2nd. Our most aggressive offer of the year continues, but won't be extended again. It's not just on engagement rings. It's earrings, bracelets, bands, colored gemstone jewelry. Buy now, pay nothing down, and spread your payments over 5 years with 0 interest. So that $5,000 eternity band comes out to just $85 a month. One-of-a-kind designer jewelry is also included in this amazing offer. Now through July 2nd at Genesis Diamonds. Open this Sunday. Green Hills and Cool Springs. Approved credit.
Where will you be for the Ally 400 at the Nashville Super Speedway? The Tootsie's Infield Club will be the coolest spot in the house before and during the race. With the shaded seating, cold drinks, and live music, it's just like Broadway at the Speedway. You'll be close to the bar, the bathroom, and all the action in Turn 4. How do you get in? Add a fan walk or pre-race track access pass to your Ally 400 ticket purchase, and we'll see you at the Tootsie's Infield Club.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Starting trouble. No one likes that. We'll get you set up for some stronger starts. You might just need a fresh charge, and we'll take care of that free of charge. But if it is time for a new battery, we've got replacement batteries that'll fit your needs, starting at just $69.99. You can learn more about our battery selection at AutoZone.com. That's what makes us America's #1 battery destination.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Claim based on data from the NPD Group 2021.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
I love my Charmin Super Mega Golden Rolls. Gold last long, it's TP Gold, yeah. Charmin's got 6 rolls in one, lasts forever on my buns. Only Super Mega when I'm cleaning. Charmin's got my booty believing.
Charmin Super Mega Roll is 6 regular rolls in one. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
Robbie Stanley.
They get a lead in that game and just totally close the door.
Joe Rexroad.
If he plays next year, it's disastrous.
Robbie and Rexroad. Mornings from 6 to 10 on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company.
Sounds like this has been a game-changing day for all of us.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
So I think I owe Caroline an apology.
I don't know what for, but I will gladly hear it.
Rob Gronkowski officially retired from the NFL today again. And Drew Rosen already come out and said his agent, according to Adam Schefter, in reaction to Rob Gronkowski's news, his agent Drew Rosenhaus texts, quote, "It would not surprise me if Tom Brady calls him during the season to come back and Rob answers the call."
I knew it.
This is just my opinion, Rosenhaus says, but I wouldn't be surprised if Rob comes back during the season or next season.
Yeah, it's so obvious, right?
I'd say this.
Got to bail out of training camp.
Yeah, he doesn't want to be in training camp, so that makes sense. He comes back after training camp.
So
He and
you
Tom
all
Brady
think
are reunited.
So you all think this is the Michael Strahan? I just don't want to go to training camp.
Honestly, probably.
Wouldn't be surprised.
So Michael Strahan in the Brady documentary, he was one of the. So the way the Brady documentary works is not like the Michael Jordan documentary where they had like 100 guests and then they weaved them all throughout all 10 episodes. It was each show would have Brady and then 2 other people that would talk about like one of the Super Bowls the Patriots or Buccaneers played in. And so Michael Strahan was one of the guests for the one where the Giants beat the undefeated Patriots. And in it, Strahan was talking about how like he just didn't want to go to training camp, so he just didn't go. And everyone's like, oh, he's holding out, he's this, he's that.
I just don't feel
And
like doing
he
it.
just knew it was his last season. He knew he was going to retire. He wasn't going to tell anybody that. So he just wanted to have fun for his last season. So he didn't want to go to training camp. So he shows up the week of the first game. And again, this is a difference at different times. So he shows up the week of the first game. They get smoked by the Cowboys. And Strahan is standing there on the sideline thinking, I was on the beach last week. Why am I here? Strahan just wanted to have fun his final year and thought there was a chance that they maybe could make the playoffs. That's all he was thinking about. Was not making the playoffs. It was maybe making the playoffs.
Whoa.
And they ended up winning the Super Bowl. But so,
Glad he
anywho.
probably came back.
So
but
you guys think that Gronk just wants to skip out on training camp, and then on October 10th, Brady will call, and he'll come because at the end of the day, he is Brady's guy.
Well, does training camp look fun to you?
No.
Absolutely not. Especially not after 10, 11, 12 years in the league.
So then why announce a retirement?
Well, why not?
Got to ramp up to be in camp shape right now. This is the most important 5 weeks of the offseason.
This is the key. And Brady, since they've left New England, they have become the kings of social media trolling and getting all eyes on them. Gronk retires, miraculously makes a comeback, and he and Tom Brady are reunited. It is such a scripted story.
I mean, the agent is telling you what's going to happen ahead of time.
The agent is telling you.
This is just my opinion. When the hell's the last time Drew Rosenhaus had an opinion about one of his players?
When can agents have opinions about their own representation?
So,
as long as Brady...
Why announce a retire? Why not just when people ask say, I haven't made up my mind?
Well, as long as Brady is playing, Gronk is playing.
Why
did Brady
August
announce
13th.
a retirement?
August 13th. Why? Well, that's because Brady wanted to strong-arm the Buccaneers to let him go own part of the Dolphins.
Well, maybe Gronk is strong-arming the Buccaneers so he doesn't have to go to training camp.
Just don't sign. Just don't sign.
Well, that's no fun.
I'm just saying.
There's no Sports Center announcement.
I'm standing by my claim, though, that I think Gronk is officially retired.
Nope.
But I am much more open than I was 2 hours ago when I read that Drew Rosenhaus thing. NHL awards are tonight. I'll be honest with you. I didn't watch the NFL awards. I'm not going to watch the NHL awards. But Roman Yossi's up for the Norris Trophy. UC Saros is up for the Vezina. And I will say this. If Roman Yossi wins the Norris Trophy, and I think it's probably, 50-50? I mean, I think he's got a real shot, Ian, because of the numbers and the fact that no one's done it since, was it, Bobby Orr 30 years ago?
I mean, this is it was as far as points go, an historic season for a defenseman.
Now, I think we'd all agree that if we had to pick between Cale Makar and Roman Yossi, we'd all take Cale Makar. But that's who it's between. I mean, I'm talking about if we had to pick one to be on our
to
team.
play for the team.
We want this guy to be Cale Makar.
Well, if I could pick one to win, it would be Roman Yossi.
So, I mean, I think Roman Yossi might win. Saros has no chance of winning. Igor Shesterkin is going to win the Vezina Trophy. I think Yossi's got a shot. Here's the thing that bothers me. If Yossi wins, I will be unable to look at that and not think to myself that in 2 years in which you've had the best defenseman in the NHL, you will have gone 1-7 in postseason games, including 1-3 in the bubble where you lost that crap Arizona team. I mean, what's the point of having the best defenseman if you can't win any games when you have the best defenseman?
But it's exciting to have a trophy.
Well, they probably wouldn't have even made the playoffs without him.
I mean, sure, but
But if they don't
what
make
do
the
I
playoffs,
care about
do
that?
they move on to a better coach?
Oh, or GM.
Or GM?
I mean, at some point, don't we have to look at it like that?
I think that's what a lot of people have been looking at is, look, you've got a goalie who's up for the Vezina, you've got your captain who's up for the Norris, and you had 2 40-goal scorers, and what do you have to show for it? And if Yossi wins tonight, I don't think UC Saros will win tonight, but let's say if he does, that just solidifies that argument that you've got great individual performances.
Well, but then they'll say he got hurt.
Oh, I can't do that anymore. I can't do that. The Saros was hurt, even though he gave up 7 goals.
Hey, I'm the one who told
in a
everybody.
Single game.
I'm the one who, at 3 o'clock, I can't remember what time we got to this. Maybe it was 2 o'clock. The day after he got hurt against Calgary. I'm the one who said, I can hear the excuse making now.
And everyone is going to look past the fact that in that last month where he wasn't injured, he was declining. Nobody's going to look at that.
I'm just saying, if Roman Yossi wins the the Norris Trophy, if he wins the Norris Trophy for the second time in 3 years, don't we have to look at that 1-7 postseason record and think, my God, what a waste. That's how I look at it. And again, Vrabel won Coach of the Year. And maybe I'm just a, bitter pants over here. But when Vrabel won Coach of the Year, I was like, good. Can you not turn the ball over against Cincinnati?
I think that's fair.
That's how I felt about it when he won it. Now, I hate these awards, after the season or whatever. I hate it because it makes me mad about the things that didn't happen and my team didn't win. But still, I mean, if he wins that Norris Trophy tomorrow, I mean, Yossi won another Norris. Yay! And I'm going to be like 1-7. Elijah Campbell's coming up next with the 6. That's going to do it for us. We are out of here, Stillman & Company. We're going to be live tomorrow at the Sounds game at First Horizon Park, and I will be at the Sounds game tomorrow, and they play Gwinnett tonight. That's it for us. We're out of here, Stillman & Company. So Elijah's next. It's 102.5 The Game.